Okay, time to continue the meeting. I guess, do we got to make note? Has Marchant stepped back? Okay, so make note that he's no longer with us. If he comes back, we can chart that again. Okay, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, time to continue the meeting. Yes, do we got to make note that Marchant stepped back?
Republic for which it stands, one nation,
Okay, so
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Got a cookie coming.
And then we had a little reason.
Okay, we'll start this meeting off with an invocation by Reverend Sean Russo from the St. Paul's Episcopal Church. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be back. I just thought I'd mention at St. Paul's this year we're celebrating our 200th anniversary. 1822 was when the church started just being used as a church and was deeded to the Episcopal Diocese of Virginia. So we've had services ever since then, continuously. So one of the ways we're celebrating is all the Sundays during September and October, we're having little announcements, historical briefs about highlights of the church and the town and their history mixed together.
Amazing.
Where people are,
Only the good ones, I hope.
yeah, only the good. Amazing.
Congrats.
I just thought I'd mention that to you so you know.
That's cool.
Pretty big moment that way. Well, the Lord be with you.
Also with you.
Let us pray. Source of all being, who has given us this good land for our heritage, we humbly beseech that we may always prove ourselves a people mindful of your favor, glad to do your will. Bless our land with honorable industry, sound learning, good manners. Defend our liberties, fashion into one united people, the multitudes brought together out of many nations and tongues. Fill with the spirit of wisdom those to whom we entrust the authority of government, that there may be justice and peace at home. In the time of prosperity, fill our hearts with thankfulness, and in the day of trouble, suffer not our trust in you to fail. We commend our town of Haymarket to your merciful care, that being guided by your providence, we may dwell secure in goodwill. Grant to our town council and staff, police department, all in authority, your spirit of wisdom, charity, justice, and with steadfast purpose they may faithfully serve in their offices to promote the well-being of all people. We entrust to your care the many works of kindness in our area, especially the moms and children and the volunteers of Carried to Full Term, and the clients and volunteers of the Haymarket Regional Food Pantry. On this 6th day of September, the day after Labor Day, as we return to work and school following the summer months, grant that your Spirit may guide and inspire our thoughts, words, and actions to promote the dignity of freedom of each person and guide us in the way of kindness and compassion. We ask this prayer and all our prayers we hold in our hearts in your name. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Okay, next on the agenda is the community spotlight. We have here Jenny Green from Alex's Army. I'd like to welcome her and thank her for the beautiful gold ribbons around town.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Mayor and Vice Mayor and council members, for having us out again to share with you. My name is Jenny Green. I am the co-founder of Alex's Army Childhood Cancer Foundation here in Haymarket. And I feel honored to be here. I love that you guys are doing the community spotlights, and I listened to some of Haymarket Food Pantry, and just for us to be recognized alongside of with them and all of the organizations that are in our community doing great things. I appreciate this platform to be able to share. So I know you guys are familiar with our story and my son Alex. So I just wanted to share about our mission again, but then also some of the new things that we have been doing with Alex's Army through the pandemic and going forward. So Alex's Army was started in 2014 with the mission to fund research with a focus on Wilms tumor, to raise awareness for all childhood cancers, and to provide support for the childhood cancer community, and especially families in our area and across the country. So when my son Alex was diagnosed, he was 5 years old, and this was in 2009, 1 month into kindergarten. And we learned over the 7 years that he fought just the realities of what families go through and what our children go through. We learned that, you know, the treatments that they receive are not new. These have been around for 40 years, and a lot of the same chemotherapies that he was given are what, you know, adults receive in their treatment. So it was very eye-opening to our family as we kind of learned this whole other world of childhood cancer. So since 2014, Alex's Army has been able to provide $550,000 in research funding for childhood cancers. A few years ago, we named Dr. Jeffrey Dome, who is one of the world's leading Wilms tumor specialists, as part of our research advisory team. And just recently, so one of the trials that we have been funding is called the REST immunotherapy trial. When Alex was in treatment, there were no immunotherapies for his type of cancer. We always asked about it because it was in the news for leukemias and other cancers, but it just wasn't there for solid tumors. And after Alex passed away, our foundation had $100,000 to provide for research funding. And it just so, not of coincidence, there was the REST immunotherapy trial was just coming into, I guess, play. You know, they were working on it and looking for funding. And so over the last several years, we have focused on just funding that trial, which has seen great results for Wilms kids. We always say that every dollar makes a difference. And, you know, I realize that, you know, while $440,000 is an incredible amount for a small all-volunteer organization like ours, you know, in the realm of medical research, it's not very much. However, last week I was invited to a ceremony where Children's has just received a grant of $25 million in research funding because of the work that they were able to do on the REST immunotherapy trial. So that was an amazing, overwhelming, emotional moment to be a part of that, and just to really see firsthand how, you know, every dollar truly is making an impact, and to hear them talk about how in the next decade, you know, their hope is to bring this immunotherapy as a frontline treatment for solid tumor, pediatric solid tumors. So I wanted to share that because that was really great news, you know, in our world. And you know, obviously part of our mission is to raise awareness, and we have always been so grateful to the town for allowing us to put up the gold ribbons throughout town for the month of September, which is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. And we do other things, like we held a Guinness World Record event this last year at Battlefield High School to try to break a Guinness World Record for the most people performing push-ups. We had over 800 people. We didn't break the record, but it was just an amazing day where we invite all of the families in our area to be honored, you know, to show how a community really does come together for families who are going through so much. We also honored police and fire at this event, and emergency response personnel, because they are such a huge part of our world as well. So, and then we, you know, our mission too, providing support where, you know, during COVID, we haven't been able to go into the hospitals, and that still hasn't, you know, we still haven't been able to. We're hoping to soon. So it became a little bit more difficult to really meet new families and try to get that connection with them. But we continued care packages, pillowcases, all of the things we could do, making masks, food delivery, And that kind of leads me to like some of the new things we're doing. So a few years back, we started our Love and Pickles Meals Ministry. It's called Love and Pickles because one, we just were serving love and pickles because Alex loved pickles. So that's the kind of the behind the name. But just in the last few years, we have been able to provide meals for 10 families in our Haymarket, Gainesville, Bristow area, 190 meals. And then we also do groceries. So we do a big BJ's run at the end of our meal train for a family, fill up a bunch of carts with their favorite things and essentials, and drop that off at the end of the meal train. And that's been something that I know is needed as a mom, like trying to figure out grocery shopping and meal. It's hard enough when you're not going through something like that, but when you add, seeing your spouse back and forth in transition and being in the hospital, it's just, we know that that's a way that we can help as well. And then just in the last year, we announced Green and Gold Athletic Spirit Scholarships for athletes who are impacted by childhood cancers. Alex was an athlete, and he didn't let anything stop him. When he was in the wheelchair, he played wheelchair basketball, sled hockey. That was who he was. And so we were looking for a way to financially help, besides the research funding, to financially help families. And we came up with the scholarship. And so the first year, last year, we were able to provide 3 scholarships to local Haymarket students, 2 at Battlefield High School. And we provide collegiate scholarship, but then also scholarship for just travel expenses, equipment, things like that. So there's 2 different types of scholarships we offer. And then this year we awarded 8 scholarships. We get funding for these scholarships by partnering with local youth sports organizations. So like this Saturday, Grizzly Football is having their Alex's Army Bowl games. So all of the funds raised there will support our scholarships. And then we also came up with a bucket-a-thon program where high schools, the basketball teams raise money by shooting free throws. So all of those events are supporting our scholarship program, which is really exciting. And, we're just super proud of that. So, I just want to thank you guys. I did invite some of our families to come out. So we do have quite a few Haymarket families that, are going through treatment, who have gone through treatment. And, the reality is, with this being Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, I think that it's important to know that childhood cancer isn't as rare as we all, would like for it to be. And in our local high schools, there are several families, all of them, who are either going through it right now or have recently. So I'm not sure, Michelle. So one of our families is here, Michelle Leibowitz. I think she would like to share, if that's okay. And she has a friend with her. I don't know. So she's a foreign exchange student who loves criminal justice. So she's getting, some experience here too as well. But Michelle, if you want to.
Hi, my name's Michelle Leibowitz. I didn't really know I was going to be speaking tonight, but my daughter Kendall was diagnosed in June of 2021 with a very rare form of lymphoma. And we were very lucky that it was treatable, and she's been in remission since November of last year. But for any 15-year-old, 4 months of intense chemo is horrible. And after a year of COVID and being home for her freshman year of high school, she felt very alone. She didn't feel like anyone cared, and invisible. And at the time, I didn't know Jenny, although Kendall went to Gravely, where Alex went, so we had always heard of Alex's Army. And another, amazing volunteer with Alex's Army, Jen Heater, heard about us and reached out and said, what can we do? And I said, insurance is paying the bills. We're lucky there. We have enough money to feed ourselves. We're good there. But my kid needs help. She's lonely. And these women reached out to the dance teams that Kendall was on. They reached out to the schools she's been to in the past. And she had not stepped foot in Battlefield yet, so they didn't know her. And the last 2 rounds of chemo, Kendall would be in the hospital for 6 days at a time for chemo every 3 weeks. And the last at least 2 rounds, they set up signs as we left our neighborhood in Dominion Valley. Kendall, you've got this. And every round there were more signs. And then the very last day of chemo coming home, they threw her a parade at Battlefield. And there were sports teams there, our church was there, Alex's Army was there with a gazillion balloons that we took the wrong turn and missed. But they were there for us and for Kendall every step of the way, and they still are. So I never thought I'd be in this position. My kid was healthy. She danced 8 hours 2 weeks before she was diagnosed with a tumor the size of a tissue box. We had no clue she was sick. And unfortunately, that's the case for a lot of cancer families. So fortunately, our community has Alex's Army to be there for us when we need it. So thank you. And Kendall can't be here because she's at dance. So that's our life. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
So anyway, just thank you guys for giving us this opportunity to share, and we're just going to keep doing what we do, and yeah, so thank you. Do you guys have any questions
So we have
for us?
any
for me, or-
questions?
Joe has one.
Oh, I have a
Sure,
lot of
Joe
questions.
does.
First of all, I applaud you for what you're doing. I think it's a wonderful thing. Can I ask which form of lymphoma your daughter has?
Large B cell.
Yep, large B cell, okay. Kids are getting more and more lymphomas, I happen to know, because I have it myself, so I understand. Can we get together afterwards, perhaps? Can I get your contact info and reach out? Okay. But keep doing what you're doing. It's a
Thank you
great
so
thing.
much.
Research is where it's at, very much.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we just remain prayerful that we will see cures in our lifetime. And, either way, whether this is the cure or it eliminates this and we find something else, we just are staying positive. And
Exactly.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you very
you.
much.
And thanks for the goodies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody else wants to bring cake and cookies. I mean,
Contact info.
need a notepad? Here.
Okay, everyone settled?
Yep.
Okay, we'll move on. We have a continuation of the public hearing we were having last meeting. Emily, did you want me to announce the status of that, or?
Well, Mr. Mayor, since it's open, since it's open and advertised, I think we have to ask if anybody wants to speak to that. If not, then we can close the matter. We can close the public hearing and close the matter if nobody wants to speak. And if somebody does need to speak to it, if somebody's here to address it. I
Okay.
mean,
Yeah, this is the open meeting for the zoning text amendment. Do we have anybody in public who has a comment they want to make? Any emails? Okay, so I'm assuming that we can close the meeting.
Correct. Close the hearing.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor, without objection, I would move withdrawal of the zoning text amendment for 6712 Jefferson Street.
any objections? Withdrawn.
Do we have to vote?
You might as well vote
Make it a vote,
by acclamation.
since you didn't make it a motion. let's do a vote. All in favor? Or do you want a roll call? Roll call?
Yeah, it's a land use case, we better do it by roll call.
Yeah.
Lear,
Aye.
Casanello,
Aye.
Pater,
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Okay. Move on to the next meeting, the fiscal year 2022 surplus presentation.
Just go over to slideshow,
Slideshow.
and you can do from beginning. So tonight, we're going to be discussing the fiscal year 2022 surplus discussion.
There you go.
Anybody need lights? Okay.
So our key discussion points this evening are going to be regarding the town surplus, the proposed real estate tax refund, capital improvement projects, and future revenue forecasts for the town. Roberta's going to hit the lights for you. It's a little darker.
So in this presentation, what is a surplus? Basically, it's when revenues exceed expenses. Any budget, you always want to match, have a balanced budget. And basically, in this situation, the surplus is created when we collect more revenue versus what we expend out. The current surplus as of August 30th for the town, and this is a pre-audited number, is $507,748. On page 5 here is just showing, highlighting a few reasons why this surplus. I don't know if you guys want me to go through them, every single one, but the majority of it has come, some factors that happened with this is that during COVID and post-COVID, we still had CARES Act funds that we were able to utilize to offset some operational costs, meaning that we were able to use these CARES Act funds to purchase items that qualified. If we had not had the CARES Act, we would have had to pay it from the general fund. So this obviously created us having not to use our funds. Also, the past year, we've had a huge increase on sales taxes, BPOLs, which is business license, within the town, and as well as meals tax. The opportunities, the next page highlights some opportunities that we can do, what we can do with the surplus for FY 2022. One of them could be proposed real estate tax refund, the town park sidewalk, the town center master plan, and the proposed park building rehabilitation. The graph here indicates what, on a pie chart, what the surplus would look like. This is using, if we were to, the proposed surplus refund and how much it would be left over for the proposed CIP funds. When we're talking about this proposed real estate tax refund, I believe council was in agreement to no more than $250,000. The remaining amount would then be used geared towards CIP projects.
Hey, Roberto, for the benefit of our audience, can you explain what CIP is, please?
Capital improvement projects.
Okay.
On page 9, what is the real estate tax refund? It refund to taxpayers who are assessed real estate property taxes in any fiscal year in which the town reports a surplus. This also discusses who qualifies for it. In this case, it would be any taxpayer that owns a property as of December 31st, 2021. I also addresses a question as to when they can expect this refund. We are estimating to be mailed out by November, but it could be changed depending on what council discusses and votes on.
Roberto, since this was addressed at the work session, I don't think everybody was there. The reason we're suggesting the real estate tax refund is that that's the one that's provided for within the state code. Other types of refunds are not specifically provided for. This one is, and they have the parameters by which you can do the refund. Some other jurisdictions are going towards offsets and personal property tax and a variety of other things, none of which are provided for in the code. This is the safest, easiest one to do it. That means we're in concordance with the law.
Page 10 actually gives an estimate of what a townhouse refund would look like versus what a single-family house refund would look like. Now, taking into account this may vary as single-family homes differ in sizes and assessed pricing, same as well as townhouses. But this is an average. So the next page 11 discusses how the refund will be dispersed. We are looking at if council approves it, we would go ahead and confirm a date as to when we are targeting to make this refund happen, and the checks will be mailed out to the qualifying property owners. This pie chart just, it's kind of more to readdress what the remaining funds will be used for when it comes to capital improvement projects, which will be 51% of the surplus. So the proposed capital improvement projects currently are the town park sidewalk, the town center master plan, and the proposed park building rehabilitation.
With the town park sidewalk, as council's been working through this project for the last several months, we are currently in the design phase of it. We're getting ready, hopefully after tonight, to award the design phase contract to the engineer and start work. It is projected that it'll be a 255-day timeline from that point of awarding the contract. We also have an estimated cost update from what is shown on this slide here. The slide right now has it at $86,000. We're at $89,500 for that design phase. What this does is this gets the engineer out here. It gets the engineering completed so that we have a full site plan to include stormwater for the portion of sidewalk that would connect from the Haymarket Baptist Church parking lot all the way to the corner of Blight Drive. So that's the entire frontage of the town park, and then around the corner connecting up to an existing sidewalk on Blight Drive. So this just provides better connectivity for our park users, pedestrians coming. There's big projects on either end of town, one in town, one outside of town, and this is going to help with that final linkage there. So what we can do is in construction phase, once we have our site plan, we have bonding estimates, we can then utilize possible surplus money if we wanted to in that scenario to go out and secure the proper funding. We can also look into our ARPA funding and our grants if applicable. Next slide. The Town Center Master Plan, another one that we've been working on for years. This one is finally coming to a close here on the design phase. So we are currently in the engineering planning phase. We are working with our consultant, Rinker Design Associates. We hope to be wrapping up with that very soon. So we utilized a combination of previous FY surpluses and ARPA funding for the design phase funding. And we can look ahead to construction phase funding for getting the appropriate loans or, again, grants if applicable. This site plan, so that everyone is aware, the picture here on the right is not the best image, but it's what we tried to demonstrate. It's a top-down view of this building right here on the corner. So it's your town hall, it's the police department, It's Washington Street Realty, Copper Cricket, and Cupcake Heaven. What it will entail is the stormwater work and all of the curb and gutter to modify our parking lot to be completely paved, get rid of the gravel in the back, provide proper entrances and exits on Washington and Jefferson Street for the main entry into the campus, if you will, and then also on the side to have a proper parking lot for the tenant as well as the police department, while still utilizing and opening up the green space in the front and making it a nice open space for our community. Next one. So the proposed park building rehabilitation, this is something that we've kind of dabbled on with this council, last council, but this council's really taken initiative in wanting to see something done with this park structure. So we had the playground installed, and it's been very successful, and now our citizens are asking for, you know, what's the building going to look like in the future. So we are currently in the phase of seeking out a structural engineer to come analyze the entirety of the structure, provide us with a report and assessment stating exactly where the deficiencies are and where we need to spend, you know, the most funding to get it up to a structural standpoint where it is something that we can open up and it has integrity for the long term. This is not just the aesthetics, this is the actual bones of the structure. So we are hoping to have those assessment proposals back here very soon so that we can fund those. Once we have that in place and we get those reports back, we can then go out to contractors and we can get a better idea of what needs to be done and what those dollar figures look like. Again, this is very much in the pre-design phase, if you will. We need to figure out what's wrong with the building before we can start designing it and coming up with its long-term potential. However, at a staff level, we are thinking this would be a great building. We already have handicap accessibility to the structure, but it would be a great building to open up for our citizens and residents who need a place to meet for HOA meetings, birthday parties, you know, small organizational events, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, etc., so that they have a community space that is right here located in the town, quick and accessible to everyone. And then we would also look in this phase of operating exterior restrooms that would service the playground area or the park in general for the hours of the park, which is, you know, sunrise, sunset hours.
Following slide, projected additional revenue sources for future fiscal years. One of them is the debt reduction, our profit funds, and the ARPA funds. So currently the town does have a debt obligation for properties that were purchased a few years ago, including this building and the park. This is basically laying out how the next 3 years will look. As you can see, it will be a significant drop following in 2 years by half of the debt that we would owe for this loan. The total due will be $284,921.99. Just so you guys are aware, we did run the exercise about 2 years ago what it would look like over the cost or savings if we had paid the debt as a whole. It turned out that it actually benefited to just pay it out as it currently is. It really wouldn't change too much.
What are we at rate-wise right now on that one?
So we have three. One is at 3.25, 2.75, and the other one I have to get back to you. But they're really low considering what.
But it's
current rates
below
are.
market rate right
Correct.
now, so.
They're locked in rates, yes.
Doesn't make much sense to get rid of it. I know you did.
Our next slide here is about proffers or conditions of approval, which can be utilized for capital improvement projects, as we discussed things like the sidewalk, the master plan here at Town Hall, or the potential park building rehabilitation. Proffers are a condition that's voluntarily committed to from a landowner or developer when they're trying to pass a rezoning package or a new development package within a local jurisdiction, and they're trying to eliminate that impact of this new development. Proffers, again, can be utilized for capital improvement projects. We will be receiving proffers from the Crossroads Village Center developer, and we are receiving conditions of approval from the Robinson Village developer. We have started receiving in some of the Robinson Village conditions. We do probably expect those to be tidied up and finished being submitted probably within 2 to 3 months' time. So I know this is a little bit harder to see here, but this just gives a breakdown of what these conditions are submitted for. So we have categories that were, again, voluntarily imposed by the developer: Parks and Recreation, Public Safety, Transportation, Fire and Rescue, Town Administration, and Schools. So that comes out to a total of $19,316 per townhouse for this specific development. In total, that is looking to be $734,000 for the entirety of the 38 townhome development that's going in. The numbers will be very similar for the Crossroads Village Center development once they start. We do have an updated timeline. They're hoping that their first townhomes will be occupied in the March timeframe of 2023.
So this fiscal year.
That is correct. So we should start, hypothetically, if that stays on track. We don't know how our winter is going to be with construction, but if that stays on track, March, April, May, June, we will be receiving proffers as those townhouses go to occupancy.
Total units there?
79.
So we're
So-
talking roughly double this from that development,
That
roughly.
that is correct, roughly double. So some of the line items that we're looking at when it comes to this type of money is how can we utilize the Parks and Recreation line item for what we want to do at the town park or other items in our CIP, as well as transportation. Public safety will be earmarked for CIP projects that fall under our public safety, so police department. Fire and rescue, this money will be set aside and earmarked for the county fire and rescue, and we will coordinate with them very similar to how we coordinate the fire funds that we receive. And schools, again, this is a similar way. We will reach out to the schools that that neighborhood would serve, and we would work with them to figure out what their capital improvements are that they need, and we would go in coordination and get the funding for them as appropriate.
The American Rescue Plan, or ARPA as we call it in this report, these are funds that were given, federal funds that were meant to assist the continuation of government, assist public during COVID pandemic, and promote public infrastructure. During these times, we were given the ability, due to the amount we were receiving, to declare a one-time allowance and revenue for revenues lost. What this did is basically enable the town to be able to use the funds as they see fit. When they were first promoted out, it was mainly structured towards COVID, pandemic, and public infrastructure. But once we declared it, which many townships did, it's able to be placed in an operational sense if we needed to, without the parameters that the ARPA consisted of. Currently, we are holding it on a separate account. I believe council is still meaning to use it towards the infrastructure as of right now. That's what they're meant for. The total amount the town received is $1,738,878.
Our last slide here to kind of conclude. Coming from a staff level, the top two questions are ones that we feel that our citizens would like to hear answers to or have more information from their council and discussion. And then we're certainly open for additional discussion and questions. I know this comes up later on in the agenda, and we do have a public hearing on the real estate tax refunds, so We're happy to answer questions now, or we can address it and under our agenda items as well.
I'd rather wait until the discussion, take the
Okay.
public comments and everything else, if there are any.
You good?
You want to discuss it now?
No, you good with waiting?
Yeah, fine.
Okay. Then we'll do it during our agenda line item for it, after a public discussion. So I guess that's it. Thank you for the presentation. We'll move on to the public hearings then. We'll start off with opening up the public hearing for the real estate tax refund. Public notice announcement, please.
The Town of Haymarket will hold a public hearing on September 6, 2022, beginning at 7 p.m. at the Haymarket Town Hall, 15,000 Washington Street, Suite 100, Haymarket, Virginia, 20169, and/or at other such times as to which such hearing can be continued. To consider amending the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget as summarized below. This amendment will increase the adopted budget of the FY 22-23 by refunding from the general fund $250,000 in surplus real estate tax revenues from the fiscal year ending in June 30, 2022. These taxes were collected based on the 2021 tax year, for which the payment deadline was December 5, 2021. The refunds will be paid in accordance with an ordinance to be adopted by the Town Council pursuant to Virginia Code Section 15.2-2511.1. The new total budget amount will be $3,257,740.
Okay, now I guess we'll open it up for public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that wants to comment on the refund proposal? Any emails? Okay. So we'll move on to the next public announcement, which was
Close
for,
that public hearing, Mr. Mayor?
do you want me to close it first? Okay. I thought we were going to do both and then close. Okay. So we'll close that meeting. Do I need a vote on that? Okay. Then we'll move on to the next public meeting, which is the Town Charter Amendment. Announcement, please.
On Tuesday, September 6, 2022, at 7 p.m., the Haymarket Town Council will hold a public hearing with respect to the proposed town charter update. This public hearing, the citizens of Haymarket shall have an opportunity to be heard to determine if they desire that the Town Council request the General Assembly to amend the town's existing charter. The current charter was adopted in 1950 and includes revisions through 1972. The proposed amendments to the town charter accomplish the following: changing the election dates from May to November and the deletion of obsolete provisions.
Okay. So we'll open this up for public comment. Anyone in the audience want to comment on the charter announcement? Any emails?
No, sir.
Okay, we'll close and move on to our regular open meeting. And we'll do the citizens' time. Anybody out there looking to make a comment at the open meeting? Any emails?
No, sir.
Now, I see a lot of young adults out there. I know we're focusing on the battlefield government class. Are you guys here for that? I was wondering if we could do a quick recess so that I could meet these guys and get a quick picture before we move on.
Oh, another photo op?
Another photo op for me. It should be quick. We'll make this no longer than 3 minutes.
Okay, very good.
Okay, now we're back to our regular session. Sorry about that, guys. We're at the consent agenda. Does anybody want to pull the reports?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I would like to pull the town administration report, please.
Okay. Anybody, any other reports?
I was going to pull that one myself.
Okay. Throw me a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve agenda items section 11, A 2 through 4, B 1 through 5, and C 1 through 5.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, so we'll pull the administrative report.
Mr. Mayor, 5 years ago, we had a staff member join our team here, the town of Haymarket, young in the way that she approached every aspect of her job, but excited and brought to the town a level of excitement that has rubbed off on the rest of the staff. Since then, she has grown in different ways. Feel it, I just said.
And will continue to grow.
Where we've seen her mature in the position that she was hired in and subsequently proven herself in an interim town manager's position. And then through discussions with the town council and the rest of staff, we've seen her taking on the town manager's dual role with her administrator's role. And today I just wanted to pull the report and to publicly thank Miss Emily for her 5 years and present her with something that we came up with collectively. So if you can roll yourself up here.
Roll.
No
Roll.
waddling yet.
Sensitive.
I got a couple months to go.
My comment, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
you.
Bob, you had something?
Yeah, I got something on a more less lighthearted note. 14871 Washington Street. I grow weary of this situation. Where do we stand? Marai?
That's your delegate.
Sure, delegate caller.
The property owner has emailed me on, let's see, it was Friday, that the fence will be installed by the end of this week. I followed up with them to make sure we're still tracking on schedule. So we should be expecting that the fence will be installed by Friday afternoon.
No,
I
this
will
week.
follow, yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So that's
Would
the,
you notify the appropriate parties? So that-
yes, I will. If anything were to change in their response, I'll keep the appropriate parties up to date as well.
Thank you.
While we're in that area of the neighborhood, what's our blight projection looking like?
So for blight mitigation throughout the entirety of town, there are several properties that can go ahead and have zoning violations issued. We can go through those steps. We can do the posting of the public hearing, or the public notice, I apologize. We can do the posting of the public notice for the awareness of the property owners and surrounding property owners. And then council needs to be ready to take action through a blight mitigation plan. I certainly can be prepping this and we can have it ready to go and we can take care of this if this is something that council is looking to move forward with at this time. We can start with the,
And
contact zoning violation. We can do our friendly reach out initiative that we try to start with.
any concerns? Because I'll tell you what, I see a corner of a foundation that's really looking a little funny. And anybody else have concerns?
I could go on at length, but I won't.
So yeah, I'd like to start the
Start
process
the
on
process?
that building.
Okay. We will start the process and we'll start tracking it.
Any other comments?
I do have one question for council, just because it came up as a zoning item. I had sent out an email. We had a recent zoning matter in the Green Hill Crossing neighborhood. Has everyone received that and you guys were okay with the response?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
We had
Which
a
one
little
was that?
parking issue with an in-home business,
Oh.
but they're properly permitted, properly zoned. We followed up with all parties involved, conducted interviews. So I just wanted to let council know it was taken care of, but see if there were any follow-up questions.
Speaking of Green Hill, the other Green Hill zoning issue, the shed,
That shed is on the list.
okay.
Yes.
And also, part of that letter that you had, I talked about some play equipment.
Yes.
That looked like it was community equipment.
Hard to determine.
Yeah, did we reach out to the HOA management group and find out what's going on with that?
You want to kick that dog? I'm not going to do it.
Well, I mean, it was an issue that was raised in that email, so I just want to make sure if everyone's happy with it. I mean, it seems like the neighborhood is okay with it, right?
I haven't received any other complaints. It sounded like when I did the interviews with the parties involved that no one had an issue with that. It was just something of note that Chief and I recognized when we did an inspection of the property.
Okay, yeah, if there are no concerns, I don't think we need to go to the management and say, hey, we see this out there, do you guys have any concerns with it? It would only be a reach out, it wouldn't be us enacting it. I feel that's a HOA issue.
It should be. Can I follow up on the conclusion and investigation of that zoning?
Yes.
Okay. Just curious, now, that business, they re-upped their business license, right?
That is correct.
Okay, and they, hold on 1 second, I wrote myself a little note here. So, just as a learning experience here, when somebody submits an SUP for a home business in town, is it essentially self-reporting, or do they have to, or do we get any information from neighbors on that?
Let me clarify. When this business came into town to apply, our zoning ordinance at the time had the use that they were looking at doing as a by right use in the R1. So they did not apply for a special use permit. They applied for their zoning permit, and that was an administrative action because it was a by right use. And so that is where they met the qualifications for it. We verified everything. They also submitted everything that they were required to have on behalf of the state that was inspecting them,
Right.
as well with their business license and zoning permit. So this particular business, so that everyone's aware, this is a family, I believe it's referred to in our zoning ordinance as a family day home. I would have to look at the exact language of it, but that is classified and it is reviewed by the Virginia Department of Education because it is essentially a daycare for 12 students or less under a certain age. So they are inspected twice a year as well. So,
Okay, well, thank you guys for doing all that work and looking into it.
absolutely,
Okay, we good to go?
we are.
Okay, let's move on. Going into item 12, the real estate tax refund discussion and the draft resolution.
Mr. Mayor, I would move Resolution 2022-12.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion and a second, open for discussion. Anybody want to start off?
I can.
Be one, I think.
Okay.
Staff and the Finance Committee, or liaisons. Thank you for the presentation that you put together. I like it. However, I don't think this is the right time to take out $250,000 of our surplus to put into given to our residents a small amount when there are other uses that they could benefit from if we were to put it to better use. Allow me just to explain a few areas that I think we should exercise more wisdom in spending this amount of money and the additional surplus totaling $507,000. We're venturing into uncharted territory, maybe even worse than what we ventured in 2.5 years ago with the pandemic. There's an uncertain future ahead of us with the possible recession. And again, this is just my opinion, but I don't think this is the right time. Having been blessed with this amount of surplus, to spend it in such a way where we could spend it in other areas that benefit the entire community. There are certain things that I think we could do better in using the money. And I'll give some examples of what I think we should be investing in. I think we should be investing in serving and services to all the residents. Here are some examples. During the pandemic that we all faced a few years ago, we were not prepared. We were not prepared with outdoor event places that we could use readily. Yes, there were uncertainties about the pandemic, but we weren't ready. And I think if we invest the monies that we have now as surplus in better areas, we could be better ready for a possible recession. The park was mentioned. We could use portions of the money to create a pavilion. We could use portions of the money to refurbish the restroom. We could use portions of the money in alignment with our CIP to refurbish the building that's on the park property for better use. Right now, there's just a small portion of that park that is being used by our residents. But I believe that if we geared the money to certain areas, we could better serve the residents as a whole instead of, in my opinion, and I'm a homeowner in the community, I would gladly receive the $200 or $300, which I am not even sure if I would receive it or it would go to escrow. I'm not even sure how that works. But
goes to you.
I'm still talking. But I don't know how it is that I would receive that money. But instead of a $200 to $300 in my pocket, I would rather have my portion go towards the entire community benefiting instead of just a homeowner in the community. There are a couple other areas I do want to mention. The sidewalk. There are sidewalk that is a part of our CIP that we've highlighted to be repaired or to be new. There are sidewalk that we've realized over the years were installed incorrectly, and a portion of the money could go towards protecting ourselves from having people having sidewalks being trip hazard, but having proper sidewalk installed in our town. Town center plan is another area that we could possibly use the surplus money for. Developing this town property for the vision that we had in creating what we have right now with the police department on one side, the town admin staff on the other side. Then as we nail down more service-oriented items for the town where the town can benefit, we have a custodian that works for the town right now and currently works 25 hours per week. $39,000 can make this custodian work for the town on a full-time basis, of which we could start seeing him and his skills being used to take care of the properties and provide a better service to our residents. Not just the custodian. During the last meeting that we had in our work session, we talked about the police department. The police department, with the additional 30-plus homes, 38-plus homes in Van Meter and the 79 homes at Crossroad Village, we're going to see a greater demand on our police department. And things cost. A salary of $65,000 will run our town about $109,000 in a salary package for a police officer, with equipment, salary, and everything else that is needed to equip one police officer. In addition, we've heard from the chief the last time of how beneficial it would be to bring on a part-time employee to help with the administrative skills. And lastly, the trash collection for these additional houses and homes that are coming into the community. That's 38 plus 79 addition, and we are gearing up to see an increase in in our trash collection bill. In summary, I think that there are other ways. Whilst I agree that this is a great option to spend $250,000, it is my opinion that it is not the right time for it. And I think we need to think carefully through how do we go through, not because we have $500,000 in surplus, that gives us the right or even to exercise the leeway to spend half of it by doing a tax refund. I would like to hear from the treasurer what his opinion is on the real estate tax refund of $225,000. That sounds more than $250,000. But what is your opinion on a tax refund of $250,000 to the residents? When, as I've stated, it could be used in other areas.
Well, I mean, we've had these discussions with the finance liaisons, and they're aware of my opinion of it, so I won't catch them off guard. But you know, this is, I mean, it's an opportunity that we could do this, you know, with the funds. But as you stated, there are a few other things that I noticed that down the road could be affected. In fact, speaking to fellow treasurers, if y'all remember, council and mayor, when I created a budget, they created a budget with an equalizing rate. Council obviously voted to even reduce it. So we did reduce our real estate tax rate, which is something that all treasurers pretty much reviewed, looked on, and kind of everyone in agreement that was something we should definitely do. I believe county did the same thing, though they kept other taxes, you know, in there or increased them.
Meals tax.
They included a meals tax, yes. Luckily, our businesses are exempt from that additional tax, since they already pay them. And yeah, we received a good amount of surplus, more than increased. Then again, you know, we use funds from CARES Act to offset some of those costs. And at the same time, we have received these funds, but we haven't, in about the next 2 years, we will see an increase on expenditures as well, coming with these additional, you know, commercial units, as well as with the residentials. To speak to the contract, you know, the trash service, I worked with the budget that council has adopted that does include the 79 townhomes and the 38. But this contract will be up as of June 30th, 2024. Though it seems like a far time from now, it isn't. It'll be here next thing you know. And I think I've made council aware that, you know, these vendors have been reaching out to us looking for their operational costs because they're in this binding contract with us. unfortunately, we are not able to, we are able to maintain our current contract, but I can tell you that many contractors out there are raising prices for services, their rates. And though this is a great opportunity, I feel that we should also, look at other opportunities, other avenues, because I feel that it's not as easy as just the end of the year who owns the property receives the funds. Speaking with our town attorney as well, we should also consider timelines. How long we want to, hold the money for until by state, until we have to hold it for 5 years. Those that have not been, cashed, then submitted to the state for them to be claimed by the residents as well, but parameters as who qualifies. We have to discuss that before we move forward with it. Who exactly qualifies? I know there's ordinances out there by other counties that do have it, but they've never been implemented. They have an ordinance on how to go about this system by refunding, but they have never implemented it. Discuss a little bit more about administrative costs. I mean, this is an additional duty that I would have to do, and hopefully get an assistance from, town manager and our part-time assistant. So there's just many things I think that before we just were to vote on it, or council votes on it, that we should consider to discuss. It is an opportunity, but I would rather see the town be able to use these funds in other options. Short term, I think it's a great thing, but I'm thinking more long term. COVID was here, and it was a different situation. People were still having jobs, people were still working, versus if we were to hit a recession for whatever reason, people may not be so inclined to go spend money on meals, as it's going up. So in my opinion, I would rather see other options, but it's an opportunity that council as a whole can decide on. That is not up to me, but if you want my opinion on it, I would rather see other options and opportunities that would better serve the community as a whole, kind of like what you said, versus just the specific 601 parcels that would receive these funds.
Thank you for your honesty. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Are you done? Okay, what I'd like to do is go around the dais. Everyone can give their opinion, so if you can hold off, or,
I can hold on.
okay.
Just real quick, I just wanted to let you know that Councilman Schneider is on his way and should be here in about a half hour if you're interested in holding this agenda item and moving to the others. If you-
I know he does,
Here for all of them, so we can hold the vote, but
Okay.
yeah, I know he wants to make a few comments, so we'll,
Okay.
we'll hit our comments, and then we'll just let him hit his when he comes back, and we'll continue that discussion then, if that's okay, or did you want to totally wait, and move this back?
we're going
I
to
think
have
we
a
should push.
discussion anyway. I mean, we got other,
Sure.
he wants to talk on a bunch of the items, so if we're going to delay one for half an hour, they're going to delay them all. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
I'm willing to hold off on the vote, sure, but
Yeah,
let's get the discussion rolling.
okay, so
I agree.
Mary's not here, so we'll move on to me.
Okay. Usually you go
Comments?
last. Usually you go last, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I will go last then. Around the dais, Vice Mayor?
So that's a lot to process, in all honesty. There's a lot of options. I can see where a refund is going to benefit the families. I can also understand servicing in other areas. We mentioned grants in some of those other areas. Where are we in getting those accepted? Talk to me a little bit about
So
that.
those would be ones that we would have to research and look into what's available and what our projects fit into the criteria for applying for those grants. One of the ones that we're actually going to talk about later on tonight, the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant. there's possibility there that if we were to apply with the county on that grant, that we could get some funding for the sidewalk or transportation improvements. But again, these grants typically will have something in them that you have to meet certain criteria, so we'll have to look into doing that research for the specific projects and different agencies, what's being offered at the federal, state, and local levels.
Okay, okay. I mean, I can see how it's going to benefit the individual families within our community. I would never speak for anybody as a whole. Everybody's situation is different. I think that $100 is a lot of money. So 200, 300 can go a long way for one of our families. So that's my viewpoint at this time.
Are you,
Yeah,
you done?
yeah.
I would like to hear from the gentleman that proposed it first before I speak, because I think
Willingly accept
because I want to compliment Chris on his argument. I'm going to support the motion, but I'd like to hear from the gentleman who proposed it.
Bob, you have the floor.
I think what everybody has to bear in mind is that this is not a tax refund in a vacuum. This is part of a larger picture and a larger analysis. It's an analysis of the surplus. It's an analysis of projected revenues both for this year and the coming years based on anticipated and actual growth that we're seeing. It's based on proffers, and it's based on ARPA and other grant funding. It's based on, one of the other factors that we factored in was, where does our debt service stand, and when will that be retired such that we don't have a debt service? So that when you look at the bottom line in next year and the year after, in terms of operational expenses, debt load, that sort of thing, we're going to be in a much different position than we were last year, and a slightly different position than we are this year. With respect to the county did not do this. This is the lie that the county tells. The county lowered the tax rate, yes, I'll agree with that. The county did not lower the tax. The tax rate that they set still encumbered all of the residents with a higher tax bill because they didn't offset the rise in assessments on average. It's a silly game they play every year, and it drives me nuts. We don't play that game, or at least I don't. Yes, we equalized the tax rate at first. That was the proposal. But by lowering the tax, we actually equalized the tax paid, not the rate. So there's a significant difference there. And part of this has to, and I don't mind saying, part of this has to do with what the county did. The county raised our real estate property taxes. That's everybody in town. The county raised our personal property taxes again, cloaking it in a cut. I don't know if anybody's seen their personal property tax bills came in last week. I have. Last 2 years, my personal property tax bills have gone up, and I haven't bought a new car. And I think everybody in this room is probably in a similar position. Then on top of that, they put in a meals tax, et cetera, et cetera. Then they found $13.5 million in the couch cushions the other day. You know what they did that $13.5 million? They didn't spend it on CIP. They didn't spend it on parks. They didn't spend it on sidewalk. They decided to give one-time $1,000 buy-offs to make their employees happy. They didn't make everybody in the county happy. They made their employees happy, and they weren't really happy with the $1,000 because they'd rather had a raise or a step increase or a COLA. And most of them don't even live in the bloody county. This tax refund goes back, and I take issue with this, will go back to the whole community because the whole community owns this town, whether it's a town or a business. And don't leave the businesses out of this because the businesses are getting their share as well. And some of them will get a rather hefty check. I think, you start looking at how did we arrive at this? When we put the budget together that created the surplus, we were very, very conservative in the construction of the budget. We were extraordinarily conservative in the revenue projections for things like meals tax and BPOL because we thought COVID was going to hit harder. I mean, a whole lot harder than it did. I mean, quite frankly, I think I can speak for Joe on this. We were shocked at just how much revenue we got. And as a result of that conservative budget, we did not cut the tax rate for the residents last year. so they bore more than their share. We've got $1.7 million in ARPA funding that we've yet to expend. We've got $2.2 million in proffers coming in. Those proffer monies are constrained. Roughly $450,000 of it has to go to parks. So we've got a revenue stream for the parks. Between the proffer funding that we should have relatively soon, if the build-out projections go to form, we're going to have almost $500,000 prior to the beginning of the next fiscal year. Same thing with transportation. We can pay for the sidewalk out of the bloody proffer money and back out all of the ARPA money that we have scheduled for that. We can back that, put it back in the lockbox, and the reason I'm saying we should do it that way is the proffer funding is constrained. That roughly $450,000 for parks has to be spent on parks. If it's not spent on parks, and by that I mean capital improvement expenses, after a period of time, the person who paid the proffer, the entity that paid the proffer, can ask for it back if it's unexpended. Same thing goes for every category of those. This money needs to be used on one-time projects. Yes, I understand the custodian issue and the part-time employee for the chief. We've already budgeted the part-time employee for the chief into this year's budget. I think we've actually budgeted for the maintenance. We have not done the maintenance guy, or was that planned for next year? Okay. No, I'm pretty sure we put, didn't we discuss this the other night?
If it was placed in the budget, I'm not aware of it.
Okay, I thought that, anyway, we can cover that. But that's not a one-time CIP expense. That's an ongoing expenditure. And again, I'm going to go back to the county. This is what drives me bloody nuts with them. They come up with budget amendments in the middle of the year, adding FTE right before the beginning of the budget cycle, and never discuss the impact of that on the ongoing expenditures. It's not a one-time cost. You can't use monies like this for you should use monies like this for one-time costs, not for ongoing budget issues. That's what you're creating your budget for. And this is what drives me crazy about the county. They'll take one-time monies and then create an ongoing expenditure that lasts for the next 20 or 30 years, and you wonder why your taxes go up every year. The trash. That's going to be offset. The trash is built into the budget. A large percentage, if not all of it, probably not all of it, but a vast majority of it will be covered by next year's tax bills when these new residences come online and start paying their taxes. That's about the only service we really provide for the tax monies that we collect. Apart from the police department, we do two things. We do the police department and we do trash. And even in the case of the HOAs, we don't even do that because they get, well, actually we do because they only charge trash outside of the town in the HOA. But I mean that's what you're getting. So I mean at the end of the day, we've got roughly $4 million in constrained and unconstrained funds that are essentially a windfall. We've got an increase coming in our revenue stream from the commercial side of the house that is all but unavoidable. I mean, there's not much we can do to screw that up. We've got 1, 2, 3 more restaurants, a daycare, a couple of retail shops, some of which are going to be charged more meals tax. We're in the best position financially as a town that I can ever remember. I mean, and we're not reinventing the wheel here. We've done this before. We've issued the tax refund. We know what the code states. We know how to do it. We've done it before. We actually issued it one year, and we're going to issue it a second year until the mayor vetoed it after the town council left. The residents' personal property tax bills are coming in October 5th. I'd like to get it to these people around then to offset that increased cost of the county. I defer.
Mr. Mayor?
Joe.
Okay. Well, I want to say this is very enlightening to those students. This is where the sausage is made. It's nice to see that, and as for your benefit, that there are differing opinions. Isn't that interesting? How do we resolve those?
Sometimes we don't.
Sometimes you don't, but yes, how do you resolve those differences is part of the challenge, and we will get to a resolution one way or another. I'm going to support this, and I'm just not going to go over and relitigate what Bob said and what Chris said, and the Vice Mayor. But I think what we really have to recognize is we have a good problem. This is an unusual good problem to have. We are flush. We've got ARPA money. We have a growing revenue source, which seems to be doing very well. Now, let's just go back to the whole issue of uncharted territory and an uncertain future. That's every day. Uncharted territory, uncertain future. We face that all the time. And you know what? Our businesses do, and our residents do as well. I think it's important that we invest in the people that live in this town and the businesses. And by doing a refund, I think that's going to be a good investment for those folks, residents and businesses. Now, we're talking about 601 different entities, Roberto, is that the number you threw out there?
Yes, 601 parcels.
All right, and that's, the majority are residential, I believe, and then some businesses.
So, just to be clear,
Okay?
Councilman Ware, not every business will
All
benefit
property
on the
owners.
property
All
owners.
property
but,
owners.
yeah.
All right, I got the floor. I have the floor. Thank you. So, to my point, and thank you for answering it, because you anticipated where I was going. It is businesses that own property in town. And I think it's very important for them. We've been through a really tough time in the pandemic. We've come out of this really well. I think we have to look at this more as a one-off. This is not something I would recommend doing all the time. We do have a need for investments. We need a lot more planning, and that's not a knock on staff at all. That's a knock on all of us to get together and think about and strategize on how we're going to spend some of this money. We have a considerable amount of money that, and I will echo what Bob said, I don't think I've ever seen, and I've been here, almost 12 years, I don't ever seen this town being this flush with money, whether it's unrestricted net assets or what have you. We're in really great shape. Do we need to think about the future? Of course. Do we have to plan for the future? Of course. But at this point in time, I think our residents, who are the owners of all the revenue in this town, right? It's not us. It's not you. It's not you. It's not you. It's everybody in this town. I think they're due some help, given what they've been through over the last couple of years. And that's how I see it, and I'm going to vote in favor of the refund. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Now you guys willing to let me talk?
Yep.
Okay, good.
I had no objection.
Okay, I understand the pains that people are going through. Prince William County really screwed the taxpayer by the increase in assessments of the housing and the added fees that are going on. Bob, you pretty much laid all that out. But of course, we don't benefit from the hurt that these guys are seeing. So when we give this money back, we're help alleviating something that, a problem that we didn't create. But in the meantime, like you said, you keep mentioning this revenue of $4 million. I've been trying to promote going into a strategic planning initiative of this town, so we actually understand where we stand. The strategic planning, the first thing would be asset management, right? We really need to understand what our assets are. We have no clue. The assets will drive what goes into the CIP. And right off the top of my head, the CIP that we have in place was something that you pretty much put together, because we never really had a CIP before that, besides just, oh yeah, let's handle
No, we
replacing
inherited that
cars.
one.
But there are pretty much about 6 or 7 line items on the CIP. That covers some of the major things, right? But that doesn't include, like Councilman Morris was saying about some of the sidewalks that are starting to get to end of life. We got, for instance, the stormwater management situation we have in town. We do have some flooding situations. The streetscape started 20 years ago. That's when we first put the pipe down in the streetscape out there. Reinforced concrete has a life cycle of 40 years, according to most civil engineering guidelines. That means in 20 years, that's got to be replaced. We don't have a public utilities or structure in this town, so why do we own this? This should be going on to Prince William County's back. Right now, I'm in the middle of negotiating with the Prince William County for that, hence the assessment program that we have with Prince William County, in which we're paying a 20-80% with, which Prince William County seems to be sitting on. Is that correct? But the assessment is going to happen, and when that assessment happens, guess what, Bob? That $4 million we have, I could sink it in one cough, one sneeze, just to get our stormwater management up to par to which Prince William County would want to take it over. So, we got the stormwater management stuff. I'd like to get, an asset assessment so that we understand what our town looks like with sidewalks, with curb and gutter, with our buildings, where they stand, what we're looking at with roof replacements, siding that needs to happen, any type of parking lot repairs that we're going to have to do, which is already being planned by us now. But these are just items popping up, right? Right now with the infrastructure bill and what we're going to be talking about later on with the SS4A, the Safe Streets for America program, we shouldn't have to rely on the county to get this grant money, but we don't have any type of grant writing capability within our town. With the infrastructure bill and another bill that's out there, we have access to $4 billion over the next 5 years that we could get money from. All we got to do is compete for it. But how can we compete when we don't even have that capability? So I'd like to try and get that in town. That's going to cost a little bit of money to try to get that capability running here, in which we can get that. Those are just a couple things that have been kind of circling around my head when it comes to trying to get a strategic planning in place so that we can just continue on and have things understood on what needs to be funded for next, or what we need to continually fund throughout our budget planning. As you know, just a simple one, our flag program, our banner program that we have on our light poles around the town. I don't think anybody really knows what the attrition rate is of those banners and what we need to do. We could actually capture that if we had some type of asset management program in place. And we understood. Once we understand this stuff, we can go from a reactive state to a proactive state. And we could get this done. With this extra money, we can start to put this type of stuff into place. And I know it would help benefit our taxpayers because of the stress that the county's putting on us. But that stress that the county's putting on our taxpayers, we get to see no benefit for. It doesn't come back to us. So we got to manage what we have, and we got to take this kind of stuff into consideration. I'm kind of stepping off my soapbox at this point. I see Bob wants to rebut first, so we'll rebut the other way on the dais.
Yeah, I'm going to get back on my soapbox, because the money that the taxpayers pay to the county is money that should come back to the town, and never has. This town pays the county millions of dollars in personal property tax and real property tax, and you tell me the last damn thing they ever paid for in this town, or the last thing they ever did, regardless of who the supervisor was. And with respect to asset management and maintenance, yeah, that's why we've got almost $400,000 that we built into the budget. Existing funds. So you can't forget that $400,000. Maintenance is something that happens. That's why we budget for it every year. I mean, if nobody's reading the budget and doesn't look at those numbers, I mean, I talk about it every time something needs to get fixed, which line item is going to come from. And that's why those line items exist. The stormwater one, I don't even want to open that can of worms. We're in a situation because of a decision made in 1988. And we're going to have to ask ourselves a very hard question in the very near future if we keep pushing this. And that's, how much is it going to cost and who's going to benefit? And what are the unintended consequences when it pushes out to other neighborhoods? I would argue that that perhaps there is a legislative fix that needs to be made to that. And I would much rather approach it from that standpoint to fix the underlying state code that's got us in a bind, which I'm not even sure is being interpreted correctly. But in order to do that, we need to start getting back to our delegate on time. In fact, I know that the call I just got was from the delegate asking, the first question out of the delegate's mouth is going to be, where is the charter you promised me months ago that we're going to have to get to later on this evening? Do we have a problem planning? Yeah, because we can never decide what we want to do. And then when we do plan something, it takes forever to get it through. I mean, how long have I been screaming about the bloody sidewalk? 2.5 years now? 2? But we've got the funding for it. I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I think we've done a damn good job recently of planning for funding within the development window. A lot of what you want to do is 3, 4, 5 years down the road before you can insert the first shovel. We've got to go through the planning phase, the design phase, the bid phase, and by that point in time, we should have, judging from the budget and what we suspect the numbers are going to be, based on recent past performance, we should probably, I'd be willing to wager right now, and I haven't been wrong much recently, I'd be willing to wager that next year's budget is even bigger. But this is a particularly difficult year, given everything that has happened to the residents in this town from a taxation standpoint. And it's not just the county, it's also the state and the feds. If we can afford to throw them a bone at this point in time, because quite frankly, in our conservative approach, we overtaxed them last year, then in my mind, that's the right thing to do.
Joe, any rebuttals?
Now, how about an enhancement?
Careful.
No, I'm not gonna go through a whole bunch of other stuff. I mean, thinking about the maintenance side, there is a real issue of maintenance in town, whether it's the light poles, the sidewalks, and what have you. Do we need somebody full-time? I don't know. Could we use somebody full-time? Probably. But one of the things and one of the challenges we have to analyze and determine is the offset of having somebody full-time versus outside third-party work. And where their savings may be so that we can afford to have somebody on a regular basis. We have to go through that analysis, and I'm willing to listen and go through it, and I think it's really important that we do it. I'm just gonna leave it one more time. There's investing, and investing is an important thing to do. And I believe at this time, investing in our residents and our businesses that own property is worth the bang for the buck. This is a very balanced approach on what to do with the surplus. Giving money back to our taxpayers who have gone through quite a bit in the last couple of years, and doing some other investing in the CIP. And as you've heard in the discussion, we have other sources of revenue coming in, we have other opportunities. We just have to figure out what we want to do. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Pater?
Just giving me a lot this evening. This is what I'm hearing. There's definitely a need across the board. I've heard several different suggestions, all of which I know are going to be long in resolution. I see a tax refund being a more immediate and, quite frankly, impactful today for our residents. So that is where I stand.
Councilman Morris?
Thank you, sir. Maybe this is a good lesson for those in attendance. Stick to your convictions. Thank you, sir.
Okay, I guess I'd like to pause on taking this any further, since we got to wait for Marchant and then go for a vote on this. Everyone at peace at this point for us to move on, and no objection to bring this
Table
up
it,
later?
Table it, what's the word? Huh?
I can find out in the ETA.
No, what's the word I'm looking for? Table it temporarily. I move to table it temporarily.
Okay,
All right, I'll second that.
okay, motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll bring that
I
up
gotta
later.
take notes, because I gotta take it off the table.
Okay.
I hope he's not texting and driving.
Well, we better hurry up then, so we can wipe out this agenda. Okay, we'll move on to the town charter.
So Kim has pulled up here our town charter amendment that we are currently working on. This is the latest version that everyone should have. So if there's any discussion or modifications that are discussed at tonight's meeting, Kim is going to be making those live as we're discussing them up on the screen. We will have a version available to the public effective immediately, and this will be the version that is sent off for our town attorney to check off, review, and then sent on to our delegate.
Okay, who wants to move on this one?
That's you, Q.
Wait a minute, I
Maybe let me make one more statement real quick, I'm sorry. Councilman Passanello, when you were absent at last week's meeting, I did bring up one of the points that you had previously discussed with the town attorney, and he recommended you bring them up with the entirety of council.
Yes.
So that was one of the items we left off on.
And of course,
Okay.
I can't find my email.
So before we go into a motion, I will open the floor for discussion.
Well, I'll move it for discussion.
Yeah, you can
Okay.
do it.
I move, doesn't have a resolution number, does it?
Yeah, it does.
That's the
12.
tax one. I move resolution 2022/013,
There.
town charter. You ready here?
Oh, I'll second. That's okay, I'll second, but I have comments about it.
Okay, got a motion and second, open for discussion. We'll start off with Joe, since I know he's got
Okay.
some discussion.
All right, so I sent some comments to Martin back on August 8th regarding this. You know, couple typos and a couple adjustments needed to be made, and there was really no issue associated with that. I would like to go to Article 3, Section 1, Number 4. Okay. And I know we didn't really talk about this in the past, but I'll read to you my comments. I think I may have shared with everybody individually, but I do have some serious concerns about this section personally, and I would propose that we make a change to it. I was hoping that perhaps we could make this change by looking and benchmarking elsewhere. So it says that the council, is this, may fine its members for
That's it,
disorderly?
yes,
I'm sorry?
that's it.
May fine its members for disorderly conduct, and with the concurrence of 2/3 expel a member. A vacancy in the office of mayor shall be filled by the council from the electors of the town, and any member of the council may be eligible to fill such vacancy. Well, okay, two things here. First of all, I think this could probably be split out, because I'm not sure how they relate to each other.
They don't.
I think if 2/3 vote against the mayor, then
No.
whoever is left behind could be appointed as mayor. I think that's why that's how they
why-
tie in. That's the only way it ties in, unless there are two sentences in one.
It seems to me that,
It should have been two in my
Is that what I'm
view.
saying?
Yeah, it should have been two.
Yeah,
I hear what you're saying, but it seems to me it should be two. But,
but that's not the point.
yeah,
Yeah.
my point is, and I'll read my comment publicly, I don't have a problem doing this. I have serious concern regarding the potential for abuse, given past censure practice, expelling a member due to disorderly conduct. I'm not sure even what is disorderly conduct. How is that defined?
In the
Is
opinion of the
it-
two-thirds.
Is it in the, yeah. So I have a question about how that's defined, and I think it should be somewhat. Is it somebody who's been charged with disorderly conduct, in the opinion of the council with disorderly conduct? How is that, what's the criteria for that? So I have a real issue with that. I'm okay with some form of sanction myself, but will never support removal, given that that should be a voter's decision, not a council decision. Because I think what you're doing is you're stealing the voice of the voter. That's my opinion. I do have some support for, someone who's found guilty of malfeasance, misfeasance, criminality. Absolutely. I think the code covers
The
that.
code provides for removal.
But, not until such time should, I believe, a council member be removed. That's my opinion. I think it gives too much authority to a miscreant leader and easily swayed members, and it also strips the voters of their vote and voice. And it's, it just seems to me that it's inconsistent with what we do with the PC. I mean, you can't get rid of a PC member unless for malfeasance, misfeasance, or nonfeasance, so, or something like that. Okay, you know what I mean. So I make a proposal that has to be changed before I can support it.
Would you suggest striking "and with the concurrence of two-thirds expel a member" and just leave it at that? Or do you want to go break it up into two sections as well?
Well, I'd like to hear what other people think first, honestly.
That would be my suggestion. I'm done.
Well, I'm assuming that you already said that this is in Virginia code, right?
Expulsion, the method for getting rid of a sitting elected official is provided for in code. This is outside of the state code.
So, do you have Muni code on your
I do.
PC, Emily, so that you could broadcast out what that code is? So we can see it and see if we just want to reference the state code?
Bob, do you by chance know that section?
Yes, I do. Give me a minute. I'll pull it up. I just can't remember what, it's in one of two sections. I think it's in,
That'll only take care of half your sentence, though, won't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's the key part.
We'll have to,
That's the key agenda for me. That there's,
I think the second part of the sentence is addressed elsewhere in the document.
it is. isn't it?
It is at, if the mayor resigns, there is a portion, there's description for that, if that happens. I really think the verbiage of this entire paragraph was designed for one situation. And I think it should be interpreted as if two-thirds of the council deems that the mayor's behavior is inappropriate, then they can, whatever the consequences are, and then whoever is left on the dais could be appointed as a mayor. Does that make sense? I think that's the context.
Do we need to define the fine amount or what disorderly means?
Yes, but it's so wide that it's really the
Yeah.
sit-in two-thirds, but I don't think that's the issue.
And
The-
I think that's what we'll see in the state code, that I'd prefer to just reference that as an interpretation of what malfeasance is.
But Mr. Mayor,
Continue
Mr. Mayor, I
updating.
don't think that's the issue.
that's not, yeah.
The issue is not malfeasance. The issue is not what do you characterize it. The issue is not what the offense is. The issue is, do we give a body or a portion of the body that much authority when the residents are the ones who voted that person in office?
Correct.
That is the issue, correct?
Correct.
Right.
That is the issue.
And that's why I'm supporting what Joe is saying. I mean, we've seen it, we've lived through it, where it gives too much room for abuse.
Yes. And when we bring up the Muni Code, we can see if that addresses all of it. And like I said, depending on how opinion is, that code would be changed, and we would never have to change our charter because we're always referencing the state code, and we would abide by the state.
But there are other avenues if someone steps out of the line, basically malfeasance, just like what we just mentioned. There are other avenues. We're governed by
If you're
the
convicted
state.
of certain crimes, you are automatically not eligible to serve.
Correct.
No, I can't remember. It's in one of two, and it's always hard to find.
So whilst Bob is looking for that, Joe, are you proposing that this entire paragraph be struck out?
No, actually, I'm proposing that it be modified, because there has to be some sanction for an illegal action or malfeasance or misfeasance, I think.
Why am I doing it the hard way? I know exactly where the language is. Why don't I just go?
He's talking to himself. Go ahead and talk to me, Joe.
So, I mean, I'm not sure exactly how it should be worded. I haven't really thought that through. I was kind of hoping that we could have Martin come up with something based on other communities, benchmark it and see what they do. Similar to what he did with the veto.
So you're still thinking that there should be some corrective measures, or?
I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem, some kind of a corrective action or what have you. I mean, the body can do what the body can do, right? Removing somebody from office, I find extremely problematic, and it takes the voice away from the voter. And I don't think we should be doing that, personally. That's my agita. I mean, I can't say it any differently than that. Let's just see what he can come up with and what it says in the code.
Yeah.
Okay, it's section 24.2 to Article 7 in its entirety, but specifically Section 231, which is forfeiture of office for a person's forfeiture of office by person sentenced for commission of certain crimes.
Fine.
So that, and this is all in Article 7. There's also vacancies occurring when an officer is determined mentally incompetent. Some might accuse me of that. 233.
Tonight, I think that was tonight.
233 is the removal option by the court by petition.
I don't even think that's what this is addressing, though.
This is normally the only way to get rid of an elected official is either they commit a crime and are precluded from retaining office by the courts. I mean, as a matter of law, they can no longer hold office for having been convicted of that crime.
But our charter oversees that, right? You
Our
guys
charter-
would still have to two-thirds vote them out.
This is outside of the statute. This power does not exist in the statute. Every other jurisdiction, the only way to get rid of somebody is to go through the courts with the recall process.
Right.
Or they get removed by the courts as part of a criminal conviction.
So why should we be any different?
Apparently, we're quite the anomaly. And I think that was in the general, there was actually an AG's opinion on this. I could probably find it a couple of years ago.
Well, I don't want to hold this up, but I think it could use a little bit more work, and maybe,
I think just striking that, and then it's not an issue.
because then it just defaults to
Then
the
it
state
defaults
code.
to the state code. You're not granting the town council an extraordinary power outside of the code.
But that second sentence, I mean, I know, Chris, you're making the argument that they're connected,
I don't
but when we
think so.
talk about the first line, it says members, so that would include mayor and any other member.
Right.
A vacancy, though, in the office of mayor shall be filled by the council from the electors of the town. That's fine. I don't have a problem with the second sentence. That first sentence, though, is where I have.
What's the paragraph that this falls under? What's that number?
Article 3,
Administration and government.
Article 3, 1, 4. Oh, so you're
Okay, keep
looking
going
at,
down, keep going down.
you're looking at context?
Yes, but keep going. Okay, so right there.
Oh, so you're looking for how the mayor gets replaced. Well, it says under the vice mayor that the vice mayor would assume the duties of the mayor should the mayor be incapacitated.
Okay, now go back to the paragraph. Go back to paragraph 4. Because it's saying here that a vacancy in the office of mayor shall be filled by the council from the electors of the town. Who are the electors of the town?
Voters.
The voters.
Voters.
So this is not, this is in the case that if the mayor is removed by the 2/3, if the mayor is removed for whatever they classify as unfit, the replacement of his seat should only be done by the members of the community.
So you're
Special
saying that,
election.
Doesn't it say
okay,
somewhere
so
in
wait
there?
a minute. I mean, because it says vacancy. I see what you're saying is you've got the context here, the first
Right.
sentence, and that would be a follow-on. But in saying a vacancy, there are other ways that you can have a vacancy in the office of mayor. Office could get sick, could resign, what have you. Is it covered somewhere else? That's the
Okay.
question.
And I understand what you're saying, but if Madam Tracy Lynn riles up and get 2/3 of us behind her and said, hey, Ken, I don't like his hairstyle over the last few months. He did something wrong. Let's pull together, vote him out, okay? We did 2/3, or you guys did 2/3, voted the mayor out. That office cannot be filled by us nominating someone to fill the office. That seat has to be filled by the voters.
By the voters. Yep.
And I think this is one sentence that has to be taken. These 2 sentences need to be taken under the same agenda. Now, again, we're arguing through it, and I'm supporting what you're saying. That's too much authority on 2/3 of the members when the community residents are the ones who voted each member in.
But it doesn't say the other member. If it's a regular member, right, it just says the office of mayor, right? What happens to a regular member if it's Chris Morris? We get 2/3 and say, Chris, you're out of here.
Then the rest of the council has done what we did with Mary, has done what they did with me. They can appoint someone to fill the seat
Or
from the residents
Interim basis.
on an interim basis until a special election. Until a special election, but not the mayor. If we get rid of the mayor, we cannot appoint someone here on the dais as the mayor. The vice mayor can continue serving
Yes,
until the community votes for the mayor to fill a new mayor.
that's the same.
So the strategy is you kick the mayor out, you let the community vote 3 months later, and if they vote the mayor back in, you kick him out again, and you just continue perpetually until the term's up.
I think this is one paragraph that has to be taken as one paragraph. Because we do have other guidelines. I think this is too much power put in the hands of the 7 members on council to exercise a judgment on an individual that has been voted in by the residents.
So if we strike the paragraph completely, and there's
I
a
would just get
vacancy.
rid of that one clause and leave it be.
What would be the negative impact if you strike the whole thing?
If you want to be able to fine people for disorderly conduct, I don't care one way or the other.
Okay, Bob, will we go
All I'm
back?
saying is get rid of the part that everybody disagrees with, and that's and with the concurrence of 2/3 expel a member. If that's the problem, excise the problem.
But Bob, we go back to the same thing. Who defines disorderly conduct? The sitting members?
That's fine. I mean, what you're talking about is the difference between a fine and expulsion.
No, but then again, Bob, should we really have the authority to two-thirds of us pool up to find you?
Hey, I'm deserving of fines sometimes. I haven't been as obnoxious here as I have been at the county. I mean, do I like it? Nah, particularly. Do I understand it? Yeah. The only part that causes me heartburn is that one clause. I can live with the rest of it. I'm kind of agnostic on the rest of it, to be honest with you.
But if you get rid of the expulsion,
If you're rid of the expulsion, I think it's
but if you get
fine.
rid of the expulsion, the rest of it is unnecessary.
Yeah.
No, the rest of it is still necessary because
It's restricting the council.
and that's why I think it needs to be divided. I think it should be, you got two things. If the council wants to fine its members for disorderly conduct, period. New section, a vacancy in the office of mayor shall be filled by the, well,
I think I said that.
I get,
That's
I'm sorry,
needed there. The
we have-
vacancy, it's pretty much restricting the council members from appointing somebody.
well, then just cut everything after conduct.
Because I'm sure
Or get rid
later
of
on
the
in
whole damn
this,
thing.
later on in this charter, you do talk about appointing council members if there's a hole in the council.
Right,
Yes.
So
right.
you do need this paragraph.
So who are the, again, let's go back to Chris's original question. Who are the electors?
Maybe that's-
Okay, it was decided back in,
Ken might also have a example for you.
Oh.
So I have an example of this. The vacancy in the office of the mayor, that line there is not in a town charter for the town of Remington. So the town of Remington's mayor passed away unexpectedly 2 years ago. So that left the vacancy in the mayor's seat. So because that particular line was in there for the electors, the citizens to come back and vote in another mayor, the town council appointed a mayor. It wasn't filled in, the vice mayor did not take over the seat. They filled in the mayoral seat with somebody from the streets.
which they have the option to do. It doesn't happen, and then I've seen this happen in other
And if that's
jurisdictions
what-
as
if
well.
that's in there, then we don't
Right.
have that.
And this charter's saying you can't do that. This charter's saying that that hole stays until somebody's voted in.
Mine's saying that you have
Has to be an election.
you have to have an election.
I don't have a problem with that, but,
Yeah, well, we could divide it, because it is some confusion.
okay, this question came up in 2014, specifically about this charter.
Okay.
You inquire whether a provision in Article 3, subsection 1-4 of the Charter for the Town of Haymarket, which allows the Haymarket Town Council to expel a member with the concurrence of two-thirds is constitutional. You inquire further whether 24.2, 230 through 238, the part I just referenced, which relate to the removal of local elected officers, supersedes the charter provisions. Lastly, you inquire whether the mayor may vote in expulsion proceedings and whether the removal of a council member requires the concurrence of two-thirds of all voting members or only those present for the vote to expel. And the AG's opinion in 2014 was the provisions of the charter which allow the town council to expel a member by a two-thirds vote is a constitutional exercise of legislative powers, and essentially it supersedes, it renders the state code null and void. And with respect to the other part, the mayor may not vote in expulsion proceedings, and the concurrence of two-thirds of all council members eligible to vote is required. So it can't just be two-thirds of the quorum.
Of all members.
It's got to be two-thirds of all members. Two-thirds of all members eligible, whatever the hell that means.
2 out of the 6, 2/3 out of the 6.
No.
I was gonna
It's
say that-
members of council. It would be, in our case, 7.
No, mayor may not vote.
But
Well,
the
I like
mayor's
that.
head count is still.
It says here, the mayor
Take
may
like
not
week
vote
out.
in expulsion proceedings.
Really?
If we're talking about the mayor,
But
then
his-
Yeah.
why would we want them to vote?
Well, if you're talking about.
That's just in the case if the mayor is the party, but if you are the party,
He still
mayor
can't
still
vote.
can't vote.
Okay.
Oh, but the mayor,
So you can vote on
but didn't the
yourself.
mayor
But the
vote
thing
in
is,
previous?
but the thing is, it's just like the veto.
2014.
The
You
mayor's
want a
head
copy of
is
it?
counted, but he's not allowed to vote, so you still got to get a full,
Hey, thank you.
major quorum.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll do whatever you guys want to do. I just don't care for that one clause. Other than that, I'm agnostic.
So, based on what you just read, Bob, this is totally legal, this word in here.
Well, this is the.
This is the
The AG's
existing,
opinion, but it carries weight. You know,
This
another
is-
AG would have to override his opinion.
which they're not going to do, because this is a,
Yeah, but
this is what do they call it?
informal.
Articles of,
Interpretation?
no, I can't remember what the term is, but this supersedes state code. But in this particular case, because the language in the state code when they wrote it for expulsion, or for removal by the recall petition process, since that does not contain language that essentially says this section of the code supersedes all charters, it doesn't supersede the charter. And since our charter is outside of it, the charter takes precedent over the state code. And that's essentially what he's saying. I mean, I can send everybody the
Is it better then just to have Joe reach out to the attorney and come up with a language that suits us?
I would,
Propose something, Bob.
you've already heard my proposal. If you get rid of and the concurrence of 2/3 expel a member, then the problem goes away. Then you're covered by state code.
Should we incorporate that by reference or no?
No,
It's
Do we-
just-
do we
it's
then need
operative.
it's
Still
operative,
need to
yeah.
put the council may fine its members for disorderly conduct then? Do you still say keep that in?
I don't care about that.
What does that
Find
mean?
me all you want.
I
So,
still have a question. What does that mean? Chief, can you give me a definition of disorderly conduct?
I can get you the code, or I can give you my gist of it. Which you prefer?
How about the code?
Does it require a baseball bat?
No, it does not. The best generalization would be anything outside the characteristics of what would be considered normal human behavior inside the public.
You know this is 2022, right?
The normal public view is a little bit different. and I
Yeah.
think it's more skewed.
Yeah.
That would be
Fair
the gist
enough.
of it, and it would be an interpretation of fact in a criminal charge. But you're talking in a civil proceeding with what you all are discussing, not a criminal
Right.
fact.
Right.
So what the judge or prosecutor may consider disorderly conduct might be far outstanding what you all consider disorderly conduct.
Exactly. Right.
So I think, if you brought Brio to a meeting, so to speak, or just constantly overspoke, or just had a total disregard for your fellow council people, or misbehaved, harsh language, I think you could incorporate a lot of that into a disorderly conduct on the civil side. Would it pass muster in a criminal? No.
So then do we need to go further and define this somewhere in the charter?
Oh, God, no. If you
No,
do,
but seriously, because
if
your
you do
standard.
that, then the General Assembly is going to really look at it hard. And I think that's what we're trying to avoid. If you start trying to dictate behavioral patterns and norms or redefine, if we're going to expand this, then they're going to take a hard look at it. And if we don't want anybody taking a hard look at the charter for other reasons, I wouldn't suggest going down that road.
So then, the term disorderly conduct should be interpreted in the light of the members on council.
That's what it sounds like.
Or we just get rid of the whole damn thing.
Why don't you just stick to a line, man?
I don't care. I'll go for expediency at this point in time. If it's easier to get rid of Section 4, then let's just get rid of Section 4.
Marshawn?
Is this typical language in most charters?
No.
Do
It's
we know?
atypical.
Do we know how old this language is?
It's from the original.
1950, updated 1972.
Do we know of any other incidences where this was necessitated, or any incidences where
Let's
this
put it
was
this way,
used?
it took an AG's opinion to delve into this one. It sounds like we're a one-off.
And what is it we're trying to preclude is,
My only
Worst case
concern is the
scenario.
second clause of the first sentence. I don't care about the rest of it.
Granting the council too much power and authority to exercise disciplinary measures, the sitting council on a member.
Specifically removal of all.
So what was disorderly in 1950?
Disenfranchise the voters' vote by being able to oust the mayor.
so what is a reasonable checks and balances? Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah.
Get rid of the first sentence and start with a vacancy. Does that make you happy?
No, but I thought that was clarified
Well, to get rid of the first sentence, we default to, what is that, section
State
2? Yeah, what's the state code, 2.7, whatever. We
24.2, 233.
So it automatically defaults to that.
Yeah.
But this does allow the statement that you cannot appoint a mayor. The mayor can only be installed through a
The
special
mayor's not
election.
necessary anyway. He's not a figure. He's only a figurehead. He doesn't vote.
Well, very true, but I did have veto at one time, but I think you guys are eliminating that in this charter.
No, we kept that.
It's still there?
It's still
Okay.
there.
By removing this, would it, did you say there is a state code provision that addresses something similar?
Yeah. It's 24.2, Chapter 7, I think it was.
Was the consensus that that was a
Section
reasonable
230.
alternative?
It's what happens in every other jurisdiction except ours.
Okay.
How about this? I had an idea.
Go ahead,
But it's
put it
gone.
back up. Put it back up.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about
Alt tab,
Yes, the code.
the
Yeah,
charter,
Number 4. The charter.
the charter.
With the concurrence of 2/3 of the voting body, the council may fine its members for disorderly conduct.
So in this case, a simple majority.
Yes. Of the members, not of the quorum. We want to make sure we spell it out that it's
It's
not
of
of
the
the quorum.
council members and not including the mayor.
Right.
So a simple
don't want
majority
a
would be
super?
4 of 6.
Instead of 5 of 6
There's no
because of a
supermajority
supermajority.
required.
So why can't we just end it there? Just put that and delete everything else?
Well, I think that second sentence serves a point.
But that's addressed elsewhere.
I don't think it is. I think where it's addressed elsewhere is if you have a council member that's missing, you can appoint them. This is saying if you have the mayor disappear, you cannot appoint a mayor.
So back to you, Ms. Kim. Are you saying that nowhere else does the vacancy for the mayor appears? Because if that's the case, then this has to be a separate paragraph.
Bingo.
As I know in this charter, it doesn't.
But, okay, so that means we cannot tie the mayor's aspect with the disciplinary aspect. It has to be a separate number.
Shouldn't be.
It shouldn't.
I don't know why it's written that way.
I said 30 minutes ago it should be separate.
Number one?
Number 7.
Okay, so
Number six.
there's a spelling error, right? There- No, case of a tie.
And that same,
It's fine.
same article? Yeah.
What do you want to do?
I would split it, and I'm okay with the fine.
Can you scroll down, Ms. Kim, please?
Expulsion.
What comes after that?
Why are we arguing this?
I'm sorry I threw the grenade in, but
Maybe we need to just find a place to insert the aspect of the absence of the mayor to prevent what happened in Remington.
is that something we could have,
Why? I mean, most jurisdictions do that.
Yeah, or what?
Fill the vacancy. Just happened in somewhere else out in the valley.
Round Hill, I think, it
It
happened.
was somewhere in west central Virginia. They just replaced a council member or a mayor or something like that. They just,
All right, Tag Joe, you're it.
I mean, there's provisions for it in the state code. I mean, like I said,
Okay, so what about?
I'm not going to get hung up on this.
So what about my proposal for number 4 in changing item 4?
What do you want to change?
With the concurrence of 2/3 or with the concurrence of majority?
Majority is 2/3.
Okay, either one you want to use, majority or 2/3. The council may fine its members for disorderly conduct, period. And everything else is deleted.
Well, it's understood that it's going to require a vote to fine them, so you're going to have a majority. I don't know why you would restate that. I think giving the council the power to do it is enough. The council may fine its members for disorderly conduct, period, if you want to leave that in there.
Oh, you're saying you're assuming it has to come with a majority vote.
It's gonna-
So you
it's
don't
gonna
have to
take a
state-
vote.
You don't have to state the obvious.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Just put a period after conduct, ditch the expel portion,
Yep.
and I would actually make a vacancy a second
paragraph.
section and renumber it.
Yeah, but you'd want a vacancy further down beyond the
No, no,
7
no,
or
it could-
8.
just
it
right
could
there's
stay right
fine.
there. It could stay right there, because what you're talking about is where the vice mayor takes over the duties of the
Okay.
vacancy. This is for,
And that's
more-
paragraph 9.
Yeah.
yeah.
And I don't even care if we keep that, to be honest with you. I mean, ideally, the two options I've got are, the two most acceptable options to me are leave it at the council may fine its members for disorderly conduct, or strike the whole damn thing.
Yeah, and then you don't define what,
Just all there.
You
well,
need to
what
redline
what
it
the
for Martin.
disorderly is, what the fine levels should be.
Right.
I mean, you know, it's some arbitrary number, you can fine them, I'm gonna fine you $1 million.
Good
Can
luck
I get a
collecting.
vote, can I get a vote for people to fine Bob $1 million for
Court
his
would never
conduct?
uphold it.
I mean, you know, come on, it's kind of ridiculous the way it's spelled out there.
Well, if
Okay.
it's ridiculous, then why is it there?
Okay, so what we do with the vacancy, is it a separate item? Is a vacancy a separate item?
I think it is. I said
So is that a
before
different
you
number?
said-
If you want to keep it.
Why don't we move that up to number 3 where it says reserved
Reserved.
and make number 4 the vacancy?
Go for that. That sounds good.
There needs to be a rubric for the fine.
Martin will have to take a quick look.
Yes,
at
of
it.
course, of course.
Is everybody okay with that?
When this was written,
Yeah,
it was
I'm
like
not gonna
3
kill a
pounds,
dead horse.
3 pence.
Or spank a dead horse, whatever, with it.
Sorry to belabor, the fine, so we're just talking about the fine is,
That's what I was talking about.
it could be
yeah.
anything.
Yeah,
I
I
thought we were
mean,
going to move the mayor's section to 3. That way you don't have to renumber 4.
Right. Just cut and paste.
And with fine was, so we got away from remove or expel.
Go to A. That should be number 4. Boom.
Should be number 3.
Uh-oh.
I think you need some backspace. Go back up.
Gonna have to go back.
And I could
Yeah, just go back. Don't save, you know.
You want me to bring up the next one?
You have another one?
oh, he's got a couple, right?
Oh my goodness, man.
No, I won't do that to you. I can live with it.
I'm sorry to bring this up, we're all comfortable that fine is undefined and can be of any value or,
Well, I mean, we're gonna vote majority, so, I mean, you can
Or we
raise
just
it and
ditch
say
the whole
$500,
goddamn
and
thing.
my vote is gonna be say yes, but I don't agree with the fine.
But it does talk about a vacancy.
Who wants
I
to
don't
get
think-
rid of the fine?
Well-
Let's make it that easy.
What would you put in instead? Just get rid of the
Nothing.
whole?
I don't care. Get rid of the whole goddamn thing.
remove. Yeah,
Well,
remove.
well,
Keep the vacancy part.
what is
Just
the
get rid of the
reason-
first sentence.
what is the reason for having a fine for disorderly conduct? I mean,
If you have one council member
okay,
that's going against the grain and behaving in a manner which the rest of the council deems to be inappropriate, especially to residents, okay?
point.
And that person is not willing to see their error,
Right.
okay? Then this is a good way to bring them back in line.
Now you're going to make me argue against that.
You
Now,
gotta,
but the
you gotta
question is-
identify the amount of the fine, you gotta identify what happens when he
Well,
doesn't pay
who
for
says
the
a
fine.
fine? But wait a minute, is a fine necessarily monetary?
yes, by
Well,
definition.
then,
Should it be a fine or should it be a sanction of some kind?
I mean, so you start to get all kinds of different
It's
descriptions
squirrely.
that need to go into place. Bob?
Mr. Mayor, I move the removal of the first sentence, "The council may fine its members for disorderly conduct," and with the concurrence of 2/3 expel a member. There's my motion.
Got a
Let's be
motion
done
on the
with this.
floor.
And then you just leave the vacancy.
That would eliminate any abuse of power.
There
Or
was a second.
abuse of
I'll second.
Motion and second. Last chance for discussion on it. We'll vote.
What is the punitive, Dan? What is the punitive?
It's not, they're removing it.
We're taking it out. We're going to vote on it, just so we don't have to discuss it
straw man
anymore.
it, because this is just getting too much, so it'll be a straw man, but
No,
that'll just go for moving on.
Do your straw man vote, because if you guys are gonna strike that first line, in a second, what I recommend is we leave number 4 as a vacancy.
Right.
Yes.
in office.
Yeah, all I'm doing is taking out the first sentence.
Yes.
And then see what Martin says.
Yeah, backspace, just go backspace and go
So
back.
what is the recourse to removing a member? We're taking that all together.
Yes.
There's a
Because
provision
what
for it in the
started
state
this whole
code.
thing.
Thanks.
my argument was that if it's up to a council to remove somebody, then what about the people who voted for it?
Okay,
Remember.
thanks for that clarification.
Okay, round table, straw man
Aye.
vote.
Aye.
Yes.
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 So we're good, let's move on.
Sorry,
Next one,
Good
Joe.
job, Joel.
Sorry to do that to you guys, I
Now
apologize.
what are you going to do to us?
I'm not going to do anymore. Okay. Let it go.
No, good.
It's not that important. I mean, you sure?
Go ahead.
Just Article 3, Section 1, number 1. Article 3, Section 1. It's got that July in there. Is that necessary any longer?
What's that?
Shouldn't it, or if it,
Oh, because our voting,
yeah,
because our voting time is different now.
should that change to January?
Yeah, that should have been changed.
Yeah.
That was an overlook.
Councilman, scale until the first day of the year following termination or until their respective service. Yeah, should be July, should be January. I thought we changed all of that.
No, that was still there.
Okay. I won't go any deeper.
No, we did change all of this because that's got November in the second paragraph, which is
Yeah,
also
but
wrong.
July remained. It
No,
was.
but November's wrong too. Oh, no, you're right, you're right. On the first Tuesday after, okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Should be.
That's for the election.
I know I changed this in all the stuff that I sent Martin. I guess he missed it. No, that's fine.
What was that?
No.
Qualified
It's
voters as
qualified
opposed
voters.
to electors.
So, again, it's a question for Martin. What's the difference between voter and elector?
There's no definition in the charter. It's a good question.
There should be one elector. Yeah, one elector of the town, there should be.
What the hell was that?
Qualified voters of the town, one elector of the town.
And 6 other electors, so then in the other section are your electors, you guys.
Okay, now, yeah, if that's the case, then I want to get rid of that too.
See how that reads?
Yep.
Because
Yeah.
it's called voters, and then it says electors, and it says one of you.
Okay, now we need to get rid of the other section too.
No, but I am an elector and also a voter.
But
we
only
have that-
you get to replace the mayor.
Stay right there for a second, Kim. So see right there in the 3rd line of
Yep.
number 2,
Yep.
one elector of the town who shall be denominated mayor, and 6 other electors
Electors.
who shall be
So that's-
denominated council members.
That's members.
So then if you go down to section 4, there it says a vacancy in the office of the mayor shall be filled by the council from the electors of the council.
Ah.
That's you 6.
No.
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Because that's what was just referred to 2 paragraphs up. And then you
Get
go
rid of
to
that then.
No, the term elector is used in two cases. It's used as a voter of the town and
No.
also someone who
No,
sits
they
on the
reference
council.
voters differently.
Look at this, because in that same article section, it does refer to qualified voters.
Elected by the qualified voters, and then the seven electors are named.
The denominated mayor and 6 other electors.
Elector is meaning someone who can vote and also who is voted in.
No.
No.
Watch and see.
Electors as
When
a-
Marty's gonna give his opinion on it, and I wanna hear an apology next meeting.
His other meeting could be done.
Call them an ace.
Tag it back in.
Well, this is important.
No, they,
I think the term electors is used twice, is used in two different cases.
Change to voters, makes it a lot clearer.
And then to complicate, to complicate it some more, Mary had asked about the gender-neutral phrases. We still have councilmen in here. Does that,
Council members.
council members?
Yeah, it's.
But there was one councilman that I saw earlier. As we went, go up, go back up
Search
just a
on
bit.
men and see what you get.
Yeah, there, the councilman.
Council member, right.
Thanks, Ken.
Council person.
That was a good catch.
Sorry to do this to you guys.
Different terms mean things, so. Good catch.
So we're back to striking number 4.
I'm there.
Yeah, because what that's saying is that it's only the council members that select the new mayor.
So, yeah, let Virginia guide our hand, right?
I'm good with, now we're back to the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, electors in the state code are a different animal than voters. Because you've got different kinds of electors, like the presidential electors that go to the electoral college. You've got
Apology accepted.
other electors.
Apology accepted.
No, what I'm saying is it's not voters. They are not voters.
Assigned people, pretty much.
They are people assigned a specific tact, a specific ability to vote on something specific.
And that would be you guys, as the qualified voters vote you in and assigned as electors.
Yeah, and electors are not chosen by the voters. Electors are selected by the body.
Right.
So delete,
I would delete the rest of 4, to be honest with you.
Rescind your motion.
No, we just,
I agree.
no, I already got that one
Straw
through.
man. We can do a straw man again if you want. We good with
Get rid of it.
Getting rid of the whole thing? Round table.
Strike it.
Bob,
Strike.
Joe,
Strike.
so
Teresa wins.
Strike.
Marshawn,
Strike it or keep it.
strike the whole paragraph or keep it. Rely on Virginia code.
Strike it.
Chris,
Strike with an apology.
Yeah, and just get rid of the whole thing. Because we have other ways of doing it by code.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good. Let me see, no. That's it.
that's it? Okay.
Thank you.
My only recommendation, please do a word search for men and make sure that we got councilmen everywhere. And change it to, yeah.
Okay.
To do a roll call vote on Resolution 2020-13 as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Okay.
Aye.
Casanello.
Aye.
Pater.
Aye.
Schneider.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, get that on to Martin and shoot it out to Danica.
Without objection, direct staff to provide me with a red line copy from Martin and a clean copy from Martin, hopefully by close of business tomorrow, so I can get a certain delegate off my back.
can we bump it to Thursday? I only say that because he does have court that runs
Okay.
the better part of tomorrow.
So the delegate will stop calling me and asking me about it? No, she wants to meet at Giuseppe's after the meeting.
Okay.
What, we're
Which
gonna
will
be done before
get
they
me on.
close?
Not the way it's looking.
Okay, let's move on. Next item, the RFP notice of intent.
Yes, this,
Do you want to do that, or do you want to go back and clean up the other one?
Keep going.
Well,
We'll hit that at
sitting
the
on
end.
table.
Let's just go through the rest of the agenda and
Let's go through, man, because,
Come back.
so Martian stays for the rest of the meeting.
shouldn't be able to knock these out. No objections to the RFP?
this is just council's awareness. We talked about it at the work
Make a
session.
motion.
We're looking for the directed to award the contract to Ringer Design Associates. I'm sorry, not Ringer, Engineering Group.
Right.
I apologize for that. We will move forward if approved with getting the contract all signed. They'll review it. If they have any questions, get back with us and hope to proceed forward here very soon.
Okay.
Without objection, direct staff to proceed with sending out the notice of intent to award in the contract?
Any objection?
Nope.
Move forward, please. Next item.
A or B vacancy appointments? Can I kick that off? So
Yes.
the outgoing chairperson, Sheridan King, had referenced Tracy and felt she was a good candidate. And then Ben is an active member in our community over in our community, Lone Street Commons.
Your old
Our community, former community. I'm sorry, Stacy, thank you very much. I'm sorry, Stacy, I messed that up. But it's new faces, new energy, so I think I would appreciate the council's support of these candidates. I think they both, also, if you read the quick write-up, they wrote them both have some applicable background, so I think they'll be good contributors to the group.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Can I simply move all three? Let's see, well, now I gotta do it by name, right?
It's in the draft motion.
Where's the draft motion
Each
here?
one has a separate,
Term.
Period of term.
Yeah, so we gotta address each one.
What page am I on?
131.
I can do the ARB ones if
I
that's...
got it.
Okay.
I got it. Okay, so I move to appoint Sandy Freeman to the Haymarket Planning Commission with a term expiring June 30th, 2026. Also move to appoint Stacy Curran to the Architectural Review Board with a term expiring June 30th, 2023. And appoint Ben Barbin to the Architectural Review Board with a term expiring June 30th, 2026.
Second.
What?
In deference to the vice mayor, I would ask to divide the question between the planning commission and the architectural review board terms.
So I move to amend?
You withdraw your motion.
Okay,
Or we can go through,
Friendly amendment.
or we can,
I'll withdraw the motion.
it'd just be easier rather than going through the whole
Okay. I
motion to
withdraw.
divide crap, or motion to divide.
All right, I'll make a new motion here. I move to appoint Sandy Freeman to the Haymarket Planning Commission with a term expiring June 30th, 2026.
Second.
Bob's got it, that's fine.
No, you're fine.
Okay, motion and second, last chance for discussion. Let's put it up for vote.
Does someone have a statement to make?
I recuse myself.
What?
Okay.
We know you're fair.
We're doing the
We're
approval.
doing a roll call vote just because
okay, Weir,
Aye.
you can abstain.
Pinello,
Aye.
Pater,
Abstain.
Aye.
Snyder, Morris.
Aye.
I move to appoint Stacy Curran to the Architectural Review Board with a term expiring June 30th, 2023, and appoint Ben Barbin to the Architectural Review Board with a term expiring June 30th, 2026.
Second.
Got a motion, second, last chance for discussion. Let's move.
All right.
Aye.
Yes.
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 Okay. Next item, Safe Streets for Roads for All grants.
Yes, so this is one of the grants that Prince William County has reached out to the town, not just our town, but other towns also within Prince William County looking for our support in applying for this grant. This is one that if awarded to the county, we could then go in and apply under for different transportation products. It is not limited to the work at, say, the crossings for the railroad tracks. It could also include sidewalks, crosswalks, but transportation projects that will increase safety and help lower the tragic deaths that happen every year in different areas throughout the county transportation-wise. So there is a letter of support here. You'll also see there's a staff report. This is being shared with the board of supervisors actually this evening, and they are looking for a letter of support. We have put one here in the packet, page 138 for you. This is one that the county helped us come up with, so if everyone's in agreement, before you leave tonight, if this is passed
This was actually heard this afternoon by the county, and they did adopt it, so without objection, I would just direct the mayor to execute this.
No objection.
Any objections? Okay, we will execute it then. Moving on. October meeting dates.
For October, two items that we would like to move, so mayor, vice mayor, myself, and the clerk will all be attending the VML conference on October 2nd through the 4th.
On our dime.
That puts us back in town later that afternoon on the 4th, which is a Tuesday. So we're asking to bump the meeting from October 3rd to October 4th at a regular time. Same thing with the and then the second item, we're looking to bump the work session. It was tentatively scheduled for November 1st, on the Tuesday as well, so we avoided the Halloween holiday, and we would like to bump that up to October 24th, which is the fourth Monday of the month.
So meeting date is the 4th
Proposed right now, yes.
and 24th.
That's correct.
24, okay.
October, yeah.
Any objections? Direct to make that on the calendar. Okay, we got a tabled item. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd move we remove resolution 2022-012 from the table.
Okay, it's off the table, open
Second
for
vote.
discussion.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
It's up for discussion. Marchant.
Appreciate the courtesy. While I stayed, I was texting with Mary. She's okay with us if they're so desire to move this forward tonight. She's fine with the council moving that forward. First off, let me say that it's been a very deliberate exercise. I appreciate the time and effort that Finance Committee's put into it, especially the staff. Good presentation, good background. I think it was a very transparent exercise. That's great. I think, very public. Do we have any public speakers tonight on this? Do we have any online comments? Do we have any comments that we have heard from constituents and friends and neighbors? Okay.
In general.
I've written down my list of questions to go through real quick. We talked about the police. I did catch part of the conversation earlier as I was driving back. One of the concerns when we came up, we had a discussion about whether or not to fill the sixth officer or not. One of the concerns that I presented was the fact that were we going to be in a position to support the hotel growth? I didn't even think about the fairgrounds. So the discussion that was tonight, Chief, I apologize, I missed your presentation, but the proposal would be that we need a upcoming part-time officer, or that's our demonstrated need?
No, I did not present on that, anything on that tonight.
Okay.
I know that the town manager and treasurer presented the overview of
Okay.
that issue. But I would not be prepared to give any statement on that right now without some further review. So it would be very premature for me to speak to
Okay.
that.
Well, I apologize if I spoke out of turn. So-
No, I'm just answering your question.
Yeah.
The potential may be there.
Okay.
But it would take further study on my part to give you an evaluation, and there would be no statistics that would indicate that. This would all be, determining, looking forward on the expansion and what needs we may need.
Okay. Point of information, you did say that we have budgeted in this budget for a part-time officer?
Okay.
No?
We have part-time officers, and we have budgeted for the part-time.
An extra
But-
part-time?
No, not an extra. We are maxed out now with our part-time officers, but we did not budget outside of the scope of that.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
So when I caught earlier that there was a discussion of a temporary or a part-time police officer, what was that in relation to?
Part-time admin.
Part-time admin, okay, well, that's where I misunderstood. I misheard the statement. If we were to need additional officer assistance, do you know off the top of your head what the general upfit is for a new officer, equipment, and other stuff?
If you're looking at the benefits for a full-time officer, you're talking around $100,000, about $7,500 to outfit a new officer, and that's without vehicle. That's best, radio that thing, those things. If you look towards a vehicle, you could probably add about another 50,000 on that, because it's not just the normal incurred cost of expanding our fleet, it's the fact that you have now another radio set, now another blue light set, another console, you have all that expansion far surpassing what we already have.
Okay.
So 50,000 would probably be a good round number for that. So you're looking at upwards of 160 plus, if we went that full shopping list.
Okay.
Now, to outfit the officer, that 7,500 is going to be static. It's not going to change. Those are items that he or she would have to have. And of course, the benefits package would be along with that. The vehicle would be an open discussion point.
Okay. In terms of ARPA funding, we can't use it for operational, but we can use it for general capital, or if we needed to outfit a new officer? No? We could use it? Okay.
We just can't use it for debt service, correct? Debt service and pension.
Okay. Thank you for that exercise. So I misheard the admin assistant distinction. The debt that we have left, I spoke with Bob briefly earlier today. What are the pros and cons if we were to take these monies and pay off our debt? So right now, we're paying, what, $12,000 per month maybe on how much are we paying per month on our real estate loans?
It's once a year, twice a year, so we give 168 up front. It's front loaded at the beginning of each fiscal year, and then the interest.
Are you on the mic? Make sure that the town can hear.
Open your presentation.
Apologize. We, it's part of the presentation, but we also ran this scenario about a year and a half ago, and considering the rates that we had, it didn't benefit the town to pay them earlier. So we're just going, then the thought was to just remain making the payments as is.
So there's not a benefit to paying off early, okay. Other than we save it comes off our monthly monthly line item, and we save potentially on some interest.
Comes out for yearly budget, because it's not a monthly thing, it's a front loaded in the front and then at the end, yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that. So the, okay, I think I understood the answer to that. Okay, police we already talked about. Are there other options from the staff perspective that the money could be used for? Surplus money? Immediate needs that maybe alternatively, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but are there other needs that could be, that we have coming up that are readily?
Not immediate, but I mean, there are other opportunities I think we discussed earlier. I don't know how much you heard of it.
Just bits and pieces. So, was there any key takeaways?
Or other service-based opportunities that we can use it for.
Okay. Do you have some easy examples? If not, that's okay. I'm taking advantage of the time you guys held for me. Limit on the ARPA funds. Do we have a sunset clause?
No.
So, okay. And the only limits on the types that we can do on capital projects, but what are the things that we cannot use it for again?
Pensions and the debt obligation. But we did the allowance, pretty much can use it for anything operational if we needed to, which other townships have done.
Can I address that one thing? I think it's a bad idea to spend ARPA money on operational expenditures.
No, I don't think we should. Those should come out of our revenue. When Katie did it was Chris Kuhn that did the memo. There was a memo that did some estimates on the finishing up the town center project and the sidewalk. Was the sidewalk about 600 grand? Was that total, everything that was in there?
So I think back, 2020, 21.
Okay.
I think the estimated cost was about 600 and some change.
Okay.
Obviously, with the times, most likely probably went up.
30%.
Okay.
And that was based off our most recent insurance.
Okay. Question I'd go for, like the town park sidewalk, would be 250 enough to potentially cover the whole cost of that project and not have to potentially look at grants or loans to do it?
No.
The 250 wouldn't cover that?
Well, Councilman Ware stated, we do have profits that are 400 and some change, but we would still, 250 could offset that to totally completely pay that if you were to use it that way.
Okay.
But we've already committed, well, part of the deal was committing the remainder of the surplus to that, correct? So that you free up the ARPA funds?
I think the discussion was made, yes, to do that, yeah.
So in essence, between the proffers and the remainder of the surplus, yes. you
We
can
talked
cover
about
your
proffers
sidewalk.
being restricted, and those come in future years, so
No,
we'll
they're
probably
coming
get
right-
in
We just got an update on that this evening.
the fairgrounds property.
Yep,
When are they expected to pay the entirety of their,
before the end of the fiscal year.
for all 79 units?
They're expected to start getting occupancy in March, April of '23 for the townhomes, and I think once they start, they'll turn pretty quick.
Talking 12 months, 14 months?
I think the comment you made earlier was by the end of June.
No, based on their timeline, they're hoping very quickly.
Okay, because living next to the Van Meter project hasn't happened that fast. So,
Van Meter's already turned over four. We have another 7 that'll come in. They're looking for their next 7 to come out probably for zoning inspection early next week. So they are falling in line about every other week.
I guess the point being is it's at some point in the future,
Yes.
and those are earmarked monies for specific
Correct.
elements. Okay. Thank you for my introductory questions. So, I'm of the opinion we're behind. We had been behind, we continue to be behind. We have master plan projects that have been on the books for years. I had hoped to see the park done before my kids would get out of elementary school. They're now not going to see it till they get out of high school. We have this project here that has some public open space. But not a lot. The Van Meter project's going to have a small playground. We've walked away, we've walked away is the wrong term, but we've moved away from the potential for the parks to be used at the QBE campus. So we're still behind in terms of meeting a service need. When I look through each of these slides, we talk about ARPA funding, looking at the design phases, but we still don't get us to the finish line, or potentially not to the finish line. The construction phase for the building is proposed, loans and grants. The town center master plan, loans and grants to get us in the construction phase. So we're still relying on futures. How can we use that money now to complete those projects rather than having to continue to wait and offset? If we wait for the proffer monies, that's going to be further down the line. So I think I heard the points about investment. I think we have made an investment. With the CARES Act funding that we have done, which we have in the report, the stimulus monies that we've gotten, from the federal government. I think there's a lot of efforts that we've tried to do to offset the fiscal impact that the country has served, and I think particularly our residents. But we are at a disadvantage. We have a town center where we don't even meet our own zoning regulations. Gravel parking lot, don't meet any of the landscaping standards, and yet we're making expectations of these new developments to give us a polished new look, yet we seem to fall behind. So I feel like these monies, that's why I asked the question earlier about that 250. Can we not earmark or push monies to at least get one of these projects fully funded and not have to rely on future loans or grants or future revenues to be able to fund it? Can we fund it now? So that's part of, hold on, Bob, I'm on my
I
soapbox
was
for a
just going
second.
to answer your question.
So I think in theory, do we have the right to do it? I certainly think we have the right to do it. Is it the right thing to do? I'm still on the fence that this is the right time to pull that trigger. Financials, I think I heard some of the comments about insecurity of the future. I do feel like we still need to tread lightly. I think we need to be conservative about the funding that we do have available. I'm of the opinion that we need to put that investment now and not continue to delay. The need is now. The need is yesterday. And so the priority being getting the sidewalk done and fully funded. I think we can move that quicker. I think the way we had gone about that project may have moved it a little bit farther along or delayed it a little bit. The town park building in that space, whether we use that park space or not, we need bathrooms now. We need them yesterday. The farmer's market is popular. It is growing. And I think we need to go ahead and finish out this project as quickly as we can as well. So that's my only concern is by doing this, the 250, are we eliminating or are we further delaying, or I think we talked about some of the future revenues that we anticipate having. Do we run the risk of having those projects future delayed in a future budget year? I've said the same thing several times, but that's the opinion that I am now. Someone who just bought a house, at probably the higher end of the market, I'm going to feel that real estate pain. By someone who has kids in schools, I'm feeling the zoning changes and a lot of the things that are happening. So I think I'm particularly positioned to say it's going to hurt. But would that cost back be nice? Certainly. But if it's at the risk of pushing other projects down the line to future years, I think we run the risk of not being in the same financial situation later and still being back to where we were before. So, thank you.
Okay, go around for rebuttals. Bob?
In answer to your question, no. It's not going to make a difference. And I think this is what we laid out earlier. There are a variety of different revenue streams that are out there. And whether we do it, whether we encumber it now or later, it's not going to make a damn bit of difference in terms of the timeline.
You don't think any of those monies can move?
Earmarking $250,000 to the sidewalk isn't going to make it get paved one day earlier. Earmarking $250,000 to this town center project isn't going to make it happen 1 year earlier. The money's out there, and this is why we looked at this holistically across all the different revenue streams and with the timelines, the projected timelines for the projects, figuring where the revenue streams are going to stand, where do we have capital, what's going to happen how much capital becomes available when we retire the debt service through normal policies. And when you're talking about projects the magnitude of the town center project, that's not something you generally fund with cash on hand. And we should be in a position, depending on what the rates are, but we're in a very good position to fund anything that we need to fund with longer-term bonds, which is the better way to do it. Yes, we can accommodate some things in the short term, but there's only so much we can do. We haven't even issued the bloody RFP on the sidewalk yet. Yeah, and so is earmarking money at it that we won't be around to ensure that it actually gets spent on that going to make it happen one day sooner? The answer is no. Is it going to make, if we don't do it, is it going to make it one day slower? No. But I think that's where I think that's, Joe, tell me if I'm talking out of turn here, but I think that's why we were looking at this, across the board and down the road. Where is the money going to be, not just this year, but next year and the year after that? Is there going to be a sufficient revenue stream to do that? We've already broached the subject of an additional officer with the chief in some of the finance meetings, and when that may or may not be triggered. There's only so much we can do right now, just because of the way we have to go through the contracting process and the planning process and how long things have taken us. I mean, if $250,000 could make the sidewalk go faster, I'd be all for it, but it's not going to.
How about then you talked about not typically paying with cash. We typically don't have ARPA funds. Could we not reallocate all those ARPA funds to fully fund that, put it in the lockbox at a higher interest rate so it sits there and gains interest, and have that fully funded, and then use the rest of the master plan and the other projects pull from those other revenues?
And that's, what do you want to pay for with the ARPA funds? I mean, that's what we've been that's why we put it in a lockbox.
Well, here's the part.
So that we could take advantage of the different revenue streams and combine them. You're forgetting there's also $400,000 in maintenance and CIP money in the budget.
I'm just frustrated by this.
The natural budget.
Looking at the particular construction phase, it seems like we're at a point now where none of the projects will be able to get to construction phase in the current financial situation that we are in right now.
I don't think you're correct on that. I think we can.
Right now, we're relying on the future, and that's what concerns me, is we're waiting for these monies to come in, and that's going to push it out to further years.
No, I think we've got enough money on hand to finish several of the construction phases. We factored that in, specifically the park and the town center.
This says loans and grants.
That's their writing, not ours. Those are options for other additional sources of revenue. I think the way I'm looking at it, we should have plenty of money to do. Roberto, am I way off base here? Given the assets we currently have and will likely have within the next 12 to 18 months, we should have enough capital if we so chose.
But isn't that haven't we had that counter argument that we shouldn't be relying on funds that are projects that are not yet built?
But a vast majority of it
revenues that
we've
are not
already got
launching?
in hand. We've got 1.7 million in ARPA. We've already got a significant amount in proffer money, and it's coming in, or will be coming in on a fairly regular basis, unless you think the Van Meter's going to suddenly stop building halfway through a townhouse.
So let me ask this another way, and I appreciate the debate. Is the finance group feels like we can, through ARPA funds, combination of ARPA funds and proffer dollars, fund through the construction phase of at least one of these projects or two of these projects?
I think between, Joe, kick me if I'm wrong, I think between ARPA funds, proffer funds, what's built into the CIP portion of the budget, that we've already, I think it's like, what, $300,000, something like that, 200 something? Between that, unrealized proffer money yet, without having to rely on next year's revenues, next year's surpluses, or any grants, I think we could finish 2 of the projects, yes.
Appreciate the banter. The other sort of way I looked at it as well is our underperforming assets, right? We had some performing asset with the museum. The early estimates we got at the park right now, we don't have a public restroom. That's an immediate need. So those are monies that the $250,000 could cost.
Yes and
potentially
no.
do.
I mean,
So that was another concern too, is if we're going to push that improvement off another 12 to 18 months, that's a need that's going to, as soon as these houses get occupied, that's a need that's generated immediately.
I get it, but are you going to construct a separate standalone restroom facility apart from the existing structure, or are you going to provide a temporary one until you're not, I guess it comes, why build a permanent solution or semi-permanent solution to the restroom problem when you don't know what the status of the building is?
And that's my point, is if it's within a $250,000 budget and we can pull that, if we go get our estimates, if we hold on to this money for now, look at what those estimates might be, whether we use it as a meeting space, whether we use it as a public restroom, or if we tear the whole thing down and rebuild from scratch, can we go through that exercise that could potentially be used for this $250,000 and not have to wait, because that kind of money we have available, all we got to do is get the design, pull the trigger, and off we go.
I don't think it would make, I don't think that $250,000 would make a difference given the timeline. I mean, we haven't even gotten the engineers in there yet.
Okay.
So, I mean, we're talking,
That's right.
I mean, I get it, but we're talking 18 months at best until you turn a spade.
And we've already lockboxed how much
And we've already
estimated
lockboxed money for it
that's
anyway.
required
Why
for
would it
the,
take-
the parklands anyways.
How long has it taken us to get the RFP for the sidewalk? Do you think that's going to happen any faster? I don't.
All I'm saying, there's other things, perhaps low-hanging fruit, that we could have a more impactful, immediate need versus continuing to sort of not push off, but have these projects continue to be pushed out to future years.
I don't think we're pushing things off. I think we're actually, Joe and I are actually giving you a plan to fund them, and fund them right now. This was, like I said, this was a holistic thing across the entire spectrum.
I think the term I had heard earlier was trying to balance both, right? And meeting the CIP needs and meeting the,
Yeah. I mean, if you're asking me what I said earlier, I said it's a balanced approach.
balanced approach. Okay. Trying to listen in.
Yeah, no, it's.
Did hear someone say no texting and driving.
In my
So-
opinion, it's, yeah. Oh, you heard that one. Good.
I think that was her.
Yeah, you shouldn't be texting while you're driving.
I confirm or deny.
So, I mean, I'm not going to go through the whole litany again.
No, you don't need to again.
Okay. But essentially what I said was, I think it's a very balanced approach for the town. We are making investments in the CIP. We are making investments in the people and the businesses by giving back some money that they could sorely use. Okay? I think we're missing a couple of things here, and Roberto can clarify it this meeting or another meeting or what have you. But we have a number of unrestricted net assets that's incredible for this town, in my opinion. I don't know what the number is. He probably has it in the top of his head, but it's the most I've ever seen. So we have funding available. We have a very strong reserve. I'm not even sure what we have in reserve anymore, given the fact that
We have about 36%.
36%. Most communities run at what? 15?
15 is the minimum.
Right. So we have funds available if need be, but we still have to figure out what are we going to do? we need to have this strategy discussion and figure out what we're going to be investing in.
No, we need an
I thought we,
implementation strategy.
yeah, I thought we have, which is the 3 projects we talked about
We
tonight.
do, but we still, I mean, because we're hearing other things here that are a need. Ken's talking about his framework, also talking about doing an assessment of all the assets in town.
How about sell them?
Huh?
Sell them.
Would those be separate exercises independent of this?
Yeah.
Well, they could help inform
It'll cost money.
what we're doing on our strategy.
Okay.
You know,
It's just, obviously COVID and everything else that's happened, it's been a long time since we've had a significant, we're going to,
Strategic planning
it just,
is what it's boiling down to.
what's that?
Strategic planning.
Okay, it makes me nervous that we've not had a major project under construction. We had the need coming. We have the sidewalks that we're going to have to look into. It feels like we should. Okay, I've said my piece. Thank you.
Yep, and I think we've addressed all these outside of you not being here too. Like I said, rebuttal around, I guess, Tracy Lynn. Are you done, Joe? Okay, you have a comment, Tracy? Chris?
My position is still the same. I think it is a mistake for us to push ahead and spend this money as part of the real estate tax refund. I think there's one thing that we're missing in the whole equation. We hired a staff for a particular reason. We depend on our staff for a particular reason. You guys have heard our staff member, the treasurer, shared his opinion, and he's been here and watched different councils over the years, and his opinion on this is not the best use of the money at this point in time. And I don't think we are paying attention to what he's saying. I'm going to hold firm to my convictions that this is not the right time. It is not the right approach. I think we could look at a real estate refund, but we need to do more research. This presentation was probably one of the best ones that we've ever had, that I've ever sat through in my 8 years. The depth of what we went through with the presentation is one of the best ones that I've seen. But I still think that we are missing the boat in not giving due diligence and due respect to what the treasurer, the town staff, has uttered in his opinion of the money. And I think we're making a mistake on it. And I understand it's democracy and majority rules, but I'm holding firm to my convictions that there are other service areas that we could use this money to better the entire community and not just the business owners or the residential owners. Thank you, sir.
Okay, and I know you had a lot of crosstalk, but I'll give you the last word, Marchand.
No, I think this is a good exercise, deliberate exercise. I appreciate the background and the discussion. I think my points and counterpoints, hopefully we're not disrespectful to your efforts that were going on, so I appreciate the deliberative exercise. I am not comfortable at this point that we don't lose an opportunity by putting the surplus, by giving out the surplus. I understand the intent, I understand the need, and if that's where the council goes, I'll be right behind it. The only other thing I'd say is it's interesting. There's 2 ways to read no public comment. Either no one has an issue with it, or people didn't know about it. So we have no way to measure that when nobody's here. So that's why I asked the earlier question, public comment, feedback, we have not seen that. So we can sort of do a publication blitz other than the public hearing and putting on our agendas, but I don't know that it'll, at this point, that would advance the discussion any further if we got more public input on which way they want to go. Would they better use of having the funds come in, or would they be comfortable having those monies put into some more immediate need? So at this point, I'm not prepared tonight to vote yes to the surplus. So,
And Mr. Mayor, can I just tap onto something, if please allow me? I will be short.
If I give you, I'm going to give
And that's
Bob
fine,
too, okay?
that's fine, that's
Go ahead.
fine. But I just think we do need to make an extra effort to get more public input. And Marchand made a key point. Maybe the public didn't really know what was going on. And we know the participation of our community members, that sometimes it takes some prodding for them to get involved. I don't know if it means for us to go outside and do the blitz or do something else to get people involved, but I think like the 7 of us, it's not enough to figure out what the community really wants or what their comments are. Maybe we could table it and get some more comments, find different ways to get their comments on certain things. I would support that, but I cannot support making a rash judgment on $250,000 for a real estate refund. Thank you for your generosity.
Okay. Bob?
I'm going to try and maintain my calm because I'm getting pretty damn pissed off. I don't want to hear about rash. You guys have heard about this for 4 goddamn months. And Joe and I have worked with the treasurer and the town manager on this for months. There is nothing rash about this. As to the treasurer's input, I don't appreciate you guys putting him on the spot. This isn't his call. This is a policy decision. This is a policy decision that falls on us. And I didn't say this earlier because I wasn't going to advance the argument. But that's our responsibility. And putting him on the spot and using him against the, I mean, that's really problematic for me. If it weren't a policy, if this wasn't our responsibility to deal with, if it wasn't the hard question that we have to make the decision on, and we were just going to leave it to the treasurer to make all of those decisions, then why do we vote on the budget? Why do we draft the budget? Why do we even sit here? This is our responsibility, and I could take losing the vote. I don't care, you know. But one of the reasons that you're sitting up here is to make the hard decision, and this is one of those hard decisions. And after all the work that Roberto and Emily have put into this and all the time that Joe and I have spent on it, there is nothing rash about this. There's nothing where this is sneaking up on anybody. I mean, when did I start bringing this up? Before we adopted last year, the current budget? 4 months ago?
Nothing that I said you were
No,
running a
I'm not
rash.
accusing you. You're not the one who said rash.
We just wanted to make sure there was no surprises.
Yeah, there's no surprises here. I don't like the fact that you guys are putting that you're putting the treasurer in a rough spot. No treasurer is going to tell you to give money back.
That's not what I asked. That's not a debate.
I'm not
It was-
accusing you.
Okay. Well, when you're done, I have one quick counterpoint, and I'll.
And I'm just going to get off my soapbox. I'm not going to say anything else.
If you felt put on the spot, I would apologize for that. Most of what I do as a full-time job, every report that ever comes out of that office is expected to have a staff recommendation.
Right.
That's expected. If the timing was off, for that I would apologize. But they would always, as an alternative to the policy decision makers, what are other options or other opportunities? And that's what I meant by that comment. Okay. But I would always expect that we would have a staff recommendation. And it is not to be contrarian to what the council is saying, but I think there's more of other immediate opportunities that we could put that into. Ask question, answered, asked and answered, and I think we're fine. So.
And on the comment of rash, maybe I did use an improper word, and there has been deliberate discussions on it, and I apologize for using the word rash. If I put you on the spot, I don't apologize, because I depend on your input. So if you're expecting an apology from me for putting you on the spot, I'm not giving one. Thank you, sir.
Okay, I think we're set for a vote. We're just apologizing and trying to
Group hug after.
group hug, yeah. So roll call vote, please.
Weir.
Aye.
Casanello.
Aye.
Hager.
Yes.
Schneider.
No.
Morris.
No.
I don't get to vote.
Unless we expel you. No, we
No,
don't have enough people to do that
No.
tonight.
I do appreciate the time and effort that you guys have put into that. It's good exercise.
Yep, you did hear my opinion on that too, so. Okay, we're on to the next round of agenda items. Council member time. Vice Mayor, you're first.
Thank you. I wanted to say thank you for all that came out to the summer concert. It was a huge success, and I do appreciate the continued support at the farmers market and the community garden. So our business roundtable, the quarterly event, will be September 20th. The date was marked wrong within the agenda, so it's September 20th, 8:30. We're going to be highlighting some marketing going into the fall holiday season. And then I would just like to remind everyone, we would love to have citizen input. If you're unable to make citizen time during our monthly meetings, feel free to email your comments to us, and they get read into our minutes. Thanks.
Okay, Councilmember Morris.
Thank you, sir. Miss Emily, congratulations, 5 years. I know you've been through a lot, like a lot. You survived during some tough moments. So thank you for your dedication to the town. Staff, financial liaisons, thank you for the financial presentation that you put forward. This, again, I said it, but this has probably been one of the best presentations I've ever seen while sitting here. And I knew that if Mayor was here, maybe we would have had the mayor to break the vote. But my last comment is the 33rd Annual Haymarket Day celebration, October 15. Just getting the word out. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Councilmember Schneider.
Oh, there's not here.
There is not.
I do appreciate the courtesy extended to me with my schedule today. Do appreciate the time and taking the time to say what I have to say. School's in session. I think most of the kids are doing well. Chief, thanks for the efforts that the police making on getting that done. Thanks for the staff to reaching out to the council members about the various topics that we've had to weigh in on. I do appreciate that. In addition to Haymarket Day, we also have the election coming up. So we could all please reach out to our friends and neighbors and people that we interact with and just encourage them to come out and make their vote heard. Thanks.
Okay, Councilmember Passanella.
I really appreciate the sausage making tonight. It's been a very
Wish the kids had stayed.
enlightened and illuminating discussion. But that's what it's all about. We discuss it, we vote, and we move on. So kudos to everybody here and the staff as well for putting that information out there. I want to raise the fact that we have an anniversary coming on Sunday, 9/11, never forget, where we commemorate those innocents that lost their lives, and as well as others who have lost their lives due to the response after. So I think we should keep that very close to our hearts. I want to thank Officer King Chan for helping me out, Chief. There was a gentleman with his son before I was going to New York that morning who was lost, didn't know where he was going. He was trying to get his son signed up for school, 5 years old. Neither one of them could speak a lick of English. I think they spoke Mandarin or Cantonese. I wasn't sure. So I reached out to King to help out, and he sorted it all out. So it was just phenomenal. And he saved me a lot of driving and running around trying to figure that out. Also want to thank the PD and the admin's support in the service and attending the service for Braxton folk. That was we had a really good turnout. And I was really happy to see Jenny tonight. Yeah, she got to me when she was talking, and that other lady, if I could get her name, about lymphoma. You don't see a lot of that in children, but it is growing. And she's doing exactly what needs to be done relative to research and funding research. There's not enough research done for pediatric cancers. We have to do a lot more. So, and with that, of course, it's Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. And 40% of childhood cancers are blood cancers. And it's also Blood Cancer Awareness Month this month. So just want to raise that awareness, everybody. And last but not least for everybody, it's also Rail Safety Awareness Month in Virginia. So be advised. Only I would know that, yes. So that's all I have for tonight, and thank you very much.
Councilman Ware.
The only thing I've got is just wanted to keep everybody apprised that next Wednesday is the Planning Commission, County Planning Commission meeting on the Digital Gateway Comprehensive Plan Amendment. I will be there. Emily doesn't want to go. So I'll be presenting the town's comments on that. I would encourage anybody who has an interest in that to please attend. Although if you're going to come, bring a pillow, because I suspect it's going to be a very long night, maybe 2 or 3 in the morning.
Okay, I guess that leaves me, piggybacking off of Joe. Yeah, VRE is celebrating this month with free tickets. So it might be interesting if anybody wants to take advantage of that. I do plan on trying to take my parents down to Union Station, having a meal there, and then coming back, just on VRE's ticket. Also, I guess a reminder for you guys, we do have a few invitations out there that are coming up that need to be RSVP'd in the next couple weeks. So if you guys are interested in attending, feel free. Yeah, I would like to thank Jenny for all she's done. Those ribbons, even though they make a statement, they also beautify the town. And I love to see that participation within town. And I'll leave it at that.
Mr. Mayor? Move to adjourn.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Danica's waiting at the bar if you want to go.
I might stop. Yeah.
I gotta get over there before they close.